Let's go.
Didn't title it, but I can edit it.
Oh, it isn't one of our podcasts if we don't manage to
If we
fuck up
don't
within the
fuck it
first
up.
30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm not used to going live on YouTube, innit? So it's like a weird one for me.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. You do all your work through Facebook, so suddenly going through YouTube.
Yeah, I don't really do anything on YouTube anymore. I didn't make a.
Well, yeah, because thumbnails go for the ones with post production and everything.
I mean, I could make thumbnails for these. I'm just fucking too lazy. Right.
Yeah.
Full screen that shit. Wait, did the announcement go out on Discord or no? Like, my brain's fucking fried.
I don't know. It tends to hate going out on Discord, doesn't it?
It does tend to hate going out on Discord.
It has not gone out on Discord.
Let me get a link.
Hello, nerd. How are you doing?
What's up, boy?
Despite the fact I spoke to her like 10 minutes ago.
Commitment.
Yeah. At everyone.
Yes.
He's here.
I need it to help if I put the fucking link. Yeet. That one's in.
Someone said Lewis's sex life. Love it.
Where's that? Oh,
in the Beers and BS topics.
Yeah. That is Lewis. Let's put Lewis's sex life.
Oh, bless.
OG. Right, let me just be good. Hello, more to Char. Well, hello, Hannah. How are you? And we can do. We're gonna have to make an intro for this shit, Ben, so I can sort this stuff out.
What, as in like a 1 minute intro bit like you've got?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good shout. That's a good shout. Oh, you just ping as many people as possible.
Exactly. Live on the tube.
No, Pud, that's exactly what we want.
BS.
Hello, Gary. How's life? Glad to see you back again. Oh, here comes Elle as well.
Yoo-hoo, big summer blowout. Ring pieces, you know? Right. Let me take my jumper off, or let me open the window because I'm ready. Fucking hell, bruv. It's roasting in it.
Hey, sexy Elle. As you can tell, we're prepared for this. But as we were saying, it's not really one of our podcasts if we aren't prepared at all.
I just ate a whole American hot pizza, so to say I'm a little bit like, woo.
But what happened to the other dinner that you had?
Ah, yeah, it's an actual fucking turd on a plate, bruv. No, you're all right, mate. You're all right.
Did you actually just not have any of it then?
I went out there and I looked at it and I went, I'm ordering a pizza. My mum went, it's quite nice. I went, I don't give a shit if it's quite nice, mate. I went, I cannot eat that shit. She went, what? I went,
no.
Because it is shit. I went, you've literally taken a dump on a plate and tried feeding it to me, bruv. I went, I love you, mum, but I went, there's no way I'm eating that. Not a fucking chance.
What did she do with it then? Is she eating it then, or?
I imagine it'll probably go down the toilet because that's where poo is meant to go. On a level, it was foul.
I don't know. I thought it looked all right.
You ever been served a turd on a plate?
No, I can't say I have, but,
Well, regardless.
It's nice to believe.
Let's start this off properly, Ben. Cheers, my guy. Happy Beers and Bullshit, episode 4. All right. So. Oh, that's nice. A different whiskey today. It's very nice.
Ooh.
How's your day been, Ben?
Oh, it's not been bad. I got up at 9 for lectures, so I was already not in the mood. At which point, the software that we were supposed to use broke for everyone. So they then said, right, well, we'll have to reschedule. And I was like, you're fucking kidding me. This is the first time I've actually woken up for one of these damn lectures and the fucking thing doesn't work. Yeah. Brilliant. So we're already off to a great start. And I went back to bed and I woke up.
Things you love to see.
Yeah.
Sounds like a pretty standard day, lad.
It's a pretty standard uni student day, I can tell you that much. How was the stream?
Honestly, I've had 2 days of incredible games. Like me, Bean, and S6 have been absolutely frying.
Yeah. Well, I've seen there's been a couple of posts that you put on Twitter and stuff, and I think you put them on Facebook as well, or at the very least, you shared some on Twitter from, I think it was from Bean,
Probably
a couple of days ago.
we've been we played yesterday and did Warzone Chow. Which, like, if you don't know what Chow is, it's like a challenge. You basically get teams and then you challenge another team, and you it's like a kill race sort of thing.
Okay.
And it was a £120 pot. So everyone put in 20 quid. And now, riddle me this, Ben. I'm not going off casino rules. I'm going off of pub rules. Okay?
Right.
I'm going off, if you're in a pub, if you're in a boozer, yeah, and you're like, lads, game of pool. All right? Everyone puts into, like, you know, say me and you, game of pool, 20 quid each.
Yeah.
Winner takes 40. Yeah?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you lose and you call double or nothing, what do? Do you both put another 20 quid in? Or do you say, now, because I lost, then I won, you get nothing, I get nothing?
What? How does that work?
So double or nothing to me is you then double the pot, and whoever wins after that one takes it all home. No.
That is double or nothing.
These kids won the first round, and I'm like, double or nothing, boys, let's do it. So we did a different format. We all paired off with someone in the other team and just did solo duos with the other team, basically. And the funny part about it was me, Bean, and me and Bean were obviously on separate teams, like playing on the same team, but separate teams in the game.
Yeah.
And we all got in the same game, and I killed the guy that was paired off with Bean, so I killed their best player. And then about 10 minutes later, Bean killed me, which was quite amusing. So we're on the same fucking team, but obviously doesn't know that. But and so we won the second part of the challenge, and they're like, "Oh, so no one gets anything." I'm like, "The fuck? That's not how double or nothing works." I was like, "Pub rules, double or nothing, mate, not casino rules, you fucking weirdo." But regardless, I've let it go. I've let it go. I've let it go. It wasn't the money I was bothered about, innit? It was just the bragging rights.
No, it's the principle. It's the principle of it.
Like 40 quid makes no difference to me. I was just like, I want the bragging rights. I want to be the one that walks out of this like, bitch. But but yeah, so that happened. But we've had some fire games, some fire footage. It's been incredible. I edited. I did about 2 or 3 hours worth of editing today before I went live. And when I exported it, I changed the file format for whatever reason. I don't know why I did it. And because of that, Premiere Pro crashed on 71% encoding. So the 2 hours of editing that I'd done hadn't saved because I didn't think to save it before I exported it. So yeah, you know, to say I was a little bit upset was understatement, maybe. But regardless, what are we talking about today, Ben?
Today we are talking about horror stories. I have picked out a few. I believe that you have also picked out a few, and mine, at the very least, are almost. I always keep forgetting the word. Like folklore from different places of different things, and I believe yours is along the same line.
Yeah, it's something along those sort of lines. It's like urban legends, myths, that sort of shit.
Yeah, basically.
Quite interesting topics. In my opinion, I've always found this sort of shit fascinating. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, fire away, champ. What's the first story?
I just like trying to make sense of them all, because to me it's like, well,
you said
who's seen that and watched it and then gone, right? How does that work?
This is life. I feel what you mean. Right, fire away. What's the first one?
I'll go with the first one. So the first two I've got are shorter ones. The third one is a bit of a story. So it's it's going to turn into a bit of an audio book. So I'm hoping you lovely ladies and gents at home are ready for that.
Listen, Ben's got the sexiest fucking voice for a podcast I've ever heard.
Hey, baby girl, let me whisper in your ear.
Do you know what I mean? You're going to be fucking dreaming about the sexiest reading of a horror story ever tonight.
I'll take off the pop filter. Take off the pop filter and everything. Right, so all of these are relatively old. Christ, this one's published in 1891.
I like the old ones.
No idea when that one is. And this one is from ages ago. Probably between 1118 and 1135. So there's just some crackheads shit.
Oh, so we're not saying in the morning. We're saying year.
Yeah.
Okay, bet. All right,
I'm going old.
Far away.
So the first
What's
one
up
is
first?
called The Witch Hare of Cleveland. And the tale allegedly goes that some farmers were out hunting hares. There's about 3 different versions of this story. I've
Okay.
tried to pick the best one or compile them all together as best I can.
Yeah.
And had a disappointing day when they ran into a nanny, a well-known local witch. I can tell you where to find a hare, she says, but mind you don't set a black dog on it. And sure enough, under the hedge Nanny had indicated, there lay a huge hare there. It set off zigzagging for miles across the countryside with the hounds and hunters in hot pursuit. Just as the hare, doubling back, reached the hedge around Nanny's little cottage, a random black dog appeared from nowhere and snapped at its haunches, tearing the skin and biting a lump out of its leg. When the hunter stepped back into the cottage to apologise to Nanny for not preventing the black dog's attack, they found her groaning in bed with a lump out of her thigh just where the black dog's jaws had caught the hare. And the whole idea is the fact that she can shapeshift.
Right. Okay.
And later on then went to, well, she was basically prosecuted and they were like, you're clearly a witch. And she was like, no, I'm not. Oh, wait, maybe I might die if I say no. Okay, yeah, I'm a witch. I'm sorry. I'll go to church every Sunday. And they still just like stabbed her through the heart with a stake.
So what was the timestamp on this again? 1800s?
The timestamp on this one was...
Was this the 1100s one?
This was 1891.
Okay, so where's it? I assume that's UK set?
Yes.
Going off of the name of hare?
Cleveland, Yorkshire. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, you think back to the Witches era, and did you watch... Not watch, but have you seen the game? I can't remember what it's called, bro. It's relatively new out. It's very much along the lines of... what was the PlayStation 4 exclusive game where you didn't actually
PT?
have... No. Where you didn't actually have to necessarily play. I want to say it began with an A. It was kind of like a story mode, and you made decisions based on the story.
Until Dawn.
Yeah.
That's
There
the
was a
thing,
follow-up
yeah.
from that by the same people.
Oh, was there?
It was really, really good. It was
okay,
really, really good.
yeah.
I watched the entire playthrough. I watched Jev fucking play the entire game, and I was hooked on it. But that was basically set on... It's been out a few months now, so I don't feel bad about spoiling it. But basically, it started in a bus, right? And you had the bus driver and a few passengers, and they were going on a school trip, and the bus driver pulls up at a roadblock, and Little Hope, that's what it was called. Little Hope.
Yeah.
Bus driver pulls up at this
Yes, I have heard of
roadblock,
that.
and a police officer says, listen, sorry, an accident's happened up ahead. You're going to have to go right and go through Little Hope. So they're like,
Yes.
okay. And now they're driving along, and they see a girl. And like this bus driver looks tripped as fuck when they say Little Hope. But you see this girl, and so he turns, and it flips over. The bus flips over, and then the bus driver goes missing, and it's just the passengers when they all kind of wake up from their shit.
Concussion.
Yeah, exactly. And they get up, and they're trying to figure out their way out, and like this weird shit's happening. They're talking to this guy in a bar, but there's no one else there. And basically, they're kind of like experiencing shit going on. They'll go and they'll look somewhere, and it will trigger something, and it goes back to like the Witches era. And it was the basis behind it was when it went back to the 1800s sort of time, there was a priest and a little girl, right? And the little girl was basically calling all of these people out for witchcraft, and she's saying like, she did this, she did that, blah, blah, blah. This guy's done this, blah, blah, blah. And the priest is obviously condemning them. They're all dying. And each person is representative of one of the people that was alive from the bus crash.
Okay, yeah.
And it finishes off, and essentially, there's multiple endings, same as Until Dawn. But I found like the witchcraft of it really interesting, because everyone was getting accused, and obviously there was no like solid foundation. It turns out that it wasn't even like a thing. It was just basically the bus driver was all of them. He had like BPD or something.
Okay.
Or it was skits or whatever the actual term is
yeah.
for it. And he was kind of living all of this as about 5 or 6 different people. But the thesis was, when it went back to the 1800s, anyone that was called out for being a witch was like, didn't get a second chance. It's like, you're dead.
Oh yeah, no, that was game over.
And thinking about that, and all of the stories that you really hear in regards to witchcraft a few hundred years ago, it was very much more prevalent in the US than it was the UK, to my knowledge.
Yeah, I want to say so. Yeah.
Because they seemed a lot more hot on the religious side of it, and I think that was where the condemnation came primarily towards witches?
I don't know. I'd say we were still hot on religion at that point. I just don't think we really took a standpoint on witches because we were like, nah, mate, probably don't exist. I don't know though. I could be completely wrong. You know,
I mean, when was the
could
death
be that
sentence abolished in the UK? It was like 19 something, wasn't it? Because the last guy was falsely hanged, wasn't he? After the story was, they were doing a robbery, and one of them had a gun. Derek Bentley was the last man hanged in Britain, and it was done falsely because they thought he had said this, and he said that he'd said that, and then they hanged him, and the other guy owned up or some shit like that, and said he didn't say that, he said this. But he was already dead. So that's why they abolished the death sentence in the UK. And I'm pretty sure there are still states in the US that allow it.
Yes.
So
I believe so.
I think that's kind of like perhaps shows how much more lax they were in terms of just like witch kill. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So, true.
It's not very often that you hear like a witch story in the UK, though, is it?
No.
I can't think of
Unrelated note, though. Speaking of the final man to be hanged, this is a completely random fact that's just come to mind. It was illegal to. Well, when do you think you could own a slave, or when do you think it became illegal to own a slave in the UK?
I'm gonna say World War One time.
No.
Sooner or
if I remember correctly, 2005.
Really?
Was when it became illegal.
Now,
what are they
classing as slave?
Sorry?
Is it what are they classing as slave? They're classing it as very much the older style of slave of someone who just comes in and like you've imported them. I want to say probably the wrong word here, but someone that you've brought in from elsewhere, treated like shit, don't pay, and they just do all your bitch work. Is that what we're classing as slave? Or are we classing slave as just unpaid labor?
I believe it. Well, I believe they were classing slave as pretty much buying a person, if that makes sense.
Right.
And if I remember, it only became illegal in 2005. But then again, under UK law, it's still illegal to what is it? Dust out a dirty rug after, I think it's either 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. That's illegal. You can get nicked for that. And you can get nicked for, what is it? It's something weird. I don't remember the name for it, but it's effectively handling us. That's it. You can get nicked for handling a salmon suspiciously. That's a genuine law. It is illegal to handle fish suspiciously in the streets. How do you
suspiciously handle fish?
I have no idea. But there you go.
Just not wiping it up your butt crack. That's fucking bizarre, isn't it? In terms of the story, though, the fascinating part, the part to me is why was it a black dog, specifically a black dog?
Well, then again, there's the whole thing against black cats as well. They're considered unlucky, I believe. Maybe that was a race. Maybe that was a race thing.
Black cats were always seen as a witch's cat, weren't they?
Yeah, I suppose so.
And that's why they're seen as unlucky. It's like a bad omen, isn't it? But why?
Why the black dog?
Why the black dog? The black dog seems bizarre, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does seem bizarre. And in all three versions of the story I looked up, it was always black dog that was brought up.
Really?
Which is very weird.
I've never.
I've never heard of a black dog in one of these stories either.
No, that's bizarre.
That came up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess like witchcraft is always one of those weird things, isn't it? Because there was never really any proof. I guess there's just so much in terms of people, so much in terms of what people know about it. It kind of just, I don't think anyone still really believe in it all that much these days, enough to kill someone at the very least. Is there? Well, I know there's like witchcraft Discord servers and stuff, which I find fascinating.
Well, I don't think people would get to the point of killing them, but I mean, people still believe that by sitting next to a piece of quartz, it will heal you, and to a degree, that is witchcraft. So people do still believe in it.
I guess so, but at what
not
point
necessarily
do you call
to the
witchcraft,
extent.
And at what point do you call it like superstition?
Homeopathy, I think it is. But if you're talking about sort of old school witches, as it were, I don't know. I'd say it's been largely phased out now for the main reason that a lot of things can be explained, and we don't need to dunk witches in water anymore to find out whether they can survive. There was, do you know what? I've just remembered there was a test for testing whether someone's a witch. Obviously, there was the standard, you dunk them underwater for like 3
Setting them on
minutes. If
fire
they're
as
dead,
well.
yeah, set them on fire. And it's always like, if they come out dead, then guess what? They weren't a witch. And sure enough, nigh on all of them didn't come out, alive.
I mean, I don't know what their next step would have been if they had come out alive. What happens then? Kill them anyway?
Like, oh, shit. Okay, well, now what do? We've tried burning them and they're alive, so we're kind of out of options here, boys. But one of the weirder ones, if I remember, was you take the person who you believe is a witch, you take their urine, you bake it into a cake, and you feed that cake to a cat. If the cat dies within a week, you're a witch. I know. That's
I'm seeing some flaws in his logic here. I'm not going to lie to you.
No, honestly,
I think the fascinating part to me was like, it would just be like set them on fire or hang them, and if they survive, they're a witch. But it's like none of them are going to survive that. If you set someone on fire, what do you anticipate is going to happen? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I suppose when there weren't scientific explanations and everything, setting someone on fire because you fear that they might, I don't know, kill all the cows or all the livestock just by being a witch and having a pointy hat. I suppose that was relatively rational in terms of how they all felt about everything anyway.
I mean, I guess so.
Like, in today's standard, yeah, that's fucking stupid. Don't go around burning random people. It doesn't tend to help your social score.
No. Some of it I just find fucking bizarre. It's like the whole topic of witchcraft as a whole is just like, surely you realise like that what you're saying makes zero sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, the whole point in witches was it was they were powered by the devil essentially, weren't they? And that was why they were condemned by priests and God, because they were doing God's work, getting rid of them and fighting the devil, essentially, weren't they?
Yeah, in effect, and that had some sort of links there. Yeah.
I guess that kind of links into almost modern day exorcisms to an extent. You look at like, you don't really see many like witch stories or anything, or like witch films at least now, do you? It's kind of progressed onto exorcism, where it's a much more kind of
that's become the new witch, as it were.
Yeah, almost. But it's
possession.
Obviously not like in the same sense as it is very much more a possession of, when you picture exorcism, I at least think back to the films where they would just be fucking getting yeeted around a room by no sort of fucking thing that you can see. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think it's an interesting thing, witchcraft, isn't it? It's like you're right, still people that genuinely really believe in it and think that it's real. And but I mean, what do you think on witchcraft? What do you think is real? Do you think there's any sort of element of truth to it, or do you just think it's a hoax or bullshit? Just was made up years ago and they couldn't shake.
I believe it was a load of bollocks. I believe it still is a load of bollocks. Sorry, I think it was made up possibly just out of fear more than anything else. It was fear of the unknown, fear of, why is the sun setting? I don't like it. It must be that woman's fault. Let's burn her and see what happens.
Do you reckon it was ever to do with like religious scaremongering? Of like needing a scapegoat, someone to blame, and saying, well, listen, this woman's a bitch. She upset me. Let's kill her. She's a witch. She's run by Satan. Do you know what I mean? It's like the idea of just fucking straight up killing someone seems like very sort of against what religions seem to stand for these days. Obviously, without going too deep into this sort of topic, but like obviously 200 years ago, it was very, very common to just kill someone because they could like tell the time by the fucking where the sun was without a sundial. Do you know what I mean? Like, seems fucking bizarre, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it seems bizarre. It's a bit like when electricity was first invented, no one wanted it because they were fearful of it, because they were like, oh no, I don't want that, because of all of like the gases that it produces by having lights in your home.
It's funny how change progresses a lot of things nowadays, isn't it? Like, everyone used to fear big changes like electricity. And nowadays, the only real thing that people have been scared of lately is fucking 5G, but in terms of technological advances, isn't there? I mean, it's still common, but it seems to be very, very much a fewer amount of people in regards to like, I'm going to say rational fears here. of like almost a progression. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
strange. And I guess a lot of people fear change. I know a lot of people who are scared of the idea of changing the way their life works, etc., 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 scared of taking the risk. But like in terms of 5G, which ultimately is a beneficial thing, it just seems strange, doesn't it?
Yeah, by today's standard, it does seem ridiculously whack. Also, another side note from witch times. Well, I suppose this wasn't really witch times, but I think this was around the time of sort of the Black Plague kind of time. Christ, when was the Black Plague?
1300s? Maybe later 1500s?
Okay, maybe it was later than that then.
I might be tripping. I genuinely don't know.
It might have been later than that, but unrelated other facts, because I'm just full of these apparently.
Mid 1300s. Boy, I'm fucking right, mate. That's the first time I've been right about history ever. Don't ever ask me a question like that again, because I can guarantee I won't fucking know.
Well, unrelated point. At some point in history, the chainsaw was invented. I don't remember whether I told you this, and I don't know if people already know, but when I found this out, I was concerned. The chainsaw was first invented not for cutting down trees, but for cutting pelvic bone, for pregnancy, and for giving birth. Yes, and this was before the time of anesthetic or any sort of painkiller. So for women who were struggling giving birth, they had what was literally like a hacksaw, and then where the blade would be a chain, like a chain link fence.
Was it motorized, or was it just very much a chain?
No, it was literally just a chain on a hacksaw. Yeah, right. I know.
If you have trouble giving birth in a couple of months, or Beck was technically due today.
I was about to say, yeah, Beck was due soon, wasn't she?
But obviously, little fucker's running late. I want that cunt out now so I can put in a Halford Sucks baby grow, innit? But
yeah, grow the brand.
Yeah, exactly, grow the brand. But the Amy's going to have fun.
Oh yeah,
she knows that, as if she weren't panicking enough as it was. All right, what's story 2? Unless you got any more witchcraft.
It's fine because now they have petrol-powered chainsaws, so it'll be a lot quicker. It's fine.
They'll just use a Dremel now. Oh, mine's split already. We're good. Oh, grotty. All right, story 2. Ben. Is this story 1100s or is this unidentified?
This one I am unsure of.
Okay, far away.
But it is from Scotland.
Scotland, here we go, Amy.
Yeah, there you go. Amy might actually know this one now that I think about it. This is called The Kelpie and the 9 Children from the Highlands.
Kelpie?
Kelpie. We'll get into that.
Is that a name or is that a thing?
That's a thing. We'll get into it later. So again, this is a mishmash of 2 or 3 stories. So sorry if I cock it up to the Spanish listeners. And also sorry.
It's
Spanish,
Snow
Scottish,
White and the 7 Dwarfs. Kelpie and the 9 Children.
Close enough.
Are you going to read it in a Scottish accent?
No, I don't think I will. Maybe after a few more drinks, I'll come back to it.
Right, fair.
But yeah. So a group of children were roaming around one Sunday near a loch, because I can't pronounce that, in the Scottish Highlands when they saw a very large and friendly horse. There was room enough for all of them on its back, so all except one climbed on. The last child was stroking the horse when he realised that his finger was stuck to the horse's mane. The rest of the children then realised that they were stuck on the horse, as if stuck like glue. When the horse took off, all the frightened children tried to jump off, but realised they were stuck fast. Only one, who happened to have a Bible in his pocket, survived to tell the tale, and only because he was smart enough to cut off one of his fingers glued to the horse's mane with his pocket knife. The boy supposedly saw the horse dive into a loch with his shrieking cargo. None of the children were ever seen again, but the next day searchers found some pieces of liver and guts floating to the surface of the pond. It transpires in the tale that the horse had been a water horse, or a kelpie, a creature that likes to fool humans into thinking it is an ordinary horse who will drag you underwater to your doom.
Now, Amy has shown me a picture before because she's just said about kelpies.
Remember the kelp, yeah.
And I just want to look it up. I feel like it's these massive fucking horse
statues. The
kelpies
there are massive statues in Scotland of them.
They are, yes. These huge horse things. Okay. Now, that's interesting because they seem to be almost
accepted as
not
being
even
real
accepted,
in Scotland.
like idolized in Scotland. Do you know what I mean? Because if you actually look at the statues, they're fucking huge and they light up and stuff as well. And I don't know if they're actually sat next to the lock. I don't know if Amy might be able to tell us that.
No idea.
It'd be quite interesting if it is, following on from that story. I mean, it'd be interesting to know the date on that and then the date on the building of the fucking statues as well.
Well, I'll have a quick look about while you're having a chat.
So Amy's saying that it is next to the river and the lock.
Yeah.
But she's saying it was the big horse that used to tow the boats along the river. So maybe there's bad kelpies and good kelpies.
Yeah, allegedly everything I found online was Kelpie bad because Kelpie angry water horse
kills children.
Yeah, I mean this says it's from the 1900s.
Okay.
So relatively new, I suppose, out of everything. But yeah, that's a they're both right next to both right next to the river. Yeah, I think it's a weird one because obviously the only account for that is of the little boy, and children can have some wild fucking imaginations.
Yeah, but is it wild enough to just remember 8 of your mates going fucking missing?
Going swimming. Yeah. And then the next day you wake up, you're missing a finger, they've all buggered off, and there's some, nice bits of liver in the lake.
Estimate of the kid's age?
The pictures all depict them as easily below 10, I'd say.
Now, the bit that gets me is, assuming this was 1900s, I'm going to say that we were at a point still where children below the age of 10 weren't necessarily trusted to go out on their own. I might be wrong in saying that. Maybe parenthood has gotten slightly stricter. But in terms of, is there a village nearby or what? Is it in the middle of fucking nowhere? Because, I think that the flaws I'm seeing in this is what were 9 kids depicted as below the age of 10 doing by a lock on their own? Do you know what I mean? Is there anything near them?
Lock Harbour? Hello? Can we just get some... Can we just... can someone just tell me how to pronounce that properly? That'd be very useful.
I don't think we're going to get... I think Amy might know, but...
No. It's relatively far north. And as we all know, Scotland is full of nothing. Okay, so... and that
shepherd's huts up in the hills.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I think that's interesting. I guess I'm not sure.
Not sure about the validity of it.
Yeah, that one does seem a bit far fetched to me because it's being retold by a child who, like you said,
being retold by a child. But then I don't know why because everything I read again felt the need to include the fact that he had a Bible in his pocket. Christ knows. But then obviously the kid would have had to have lost his finger somehow to make the story true. Or somehow his parents have used that as an excuse for how he's lost a finger.
Yeah. I think the weird part to me is just it doesn't necessarily add up, does it? No. I'm all for kind of believing in this sort of thing. That one to me just seems too far-fetched, personally.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree. It just doesn't seem to make much sense.
Nah, not particularly. Still, it's an interesting read, though.
It is very much so. Very much so. You want to just go straight on to number 3 then?
I can go on to number 3. But this is a much longer story with much more annoying
pronunciation.
It's a much more annoying language in terms of just how it's worded.
Told in ye olde fucking English.
Pretty much, yeah. The account was written by the monastery's abbot, Geoffrey. I love the fact that's his name. Just the monastery's abbot, Geoffrey.
From 900 years ago. Go on.
Probably between the 1118 and 1135. Certainly before 1150, when Abbot Geoffrey died. Well, yeah, no. Why do we need clarification if he's dead? I doubt he's going to write anything.
The story here is that Geoffrey's ghost wrote a story. Go on, fire away. What we got?
Right. I think there's parts of this that I can skip out, so I will try to keep it as concise as possible. I will summarize the first 2 paragraphs because they are horrific to read. In effect, there were 2 villagers living in Stapenhill. This is called the Vampires of Drakelow. Stapenhill is near Drakelow, at least. Under the jurisdiction of the Abbot of Burton, who ran away to the neighbouring village called Drakelow, wrongfully leaving their lords and monks and wishing to live under the authority of Count Roger, called The Poitevin, no idea. The father of the monastery ordered that their crops, which had not yet been taken out of the barns, should be seized and taken to his own barns, hoping in this way to bring them back and to recall them to their own dwellings. But these men went off and lied deceitfully and brought a troublesome charge before Count Roger, stirring him up and speaking wickedly, so that the Count's deep anger was aroused against the abbot, so much that he threatened to kill them wherever he may find them. Do you see what I mean about weird English? Basically, villagers ran away from a village because they didn't want to live under the reign of whoever owned that piece of land. They went to a different piece of land because they thought it was nicer, and the owner of their previous place that they lived and worked said, right, well, we're taking all your crops if you don't come back. They lied, and the owner of the original piece of land basically said, right, well, gonna kill you then. Eventually, violently angry, the Count gathered a great troop of knights and peasants with weapons and carts, and sent them in a great company to the monk's barn at Staple Hill, and had them seized by force all the crops stored there, those belonging to the abbey, on which the monks depend, as well as those of the wicked fugitives we mentioned. The very next day, at the 3rd hour, the 2 runaway peasants, through whom and because of whom this evil had arisen, were sitting down to eat, when they were both suddenly struck dead. It doesn't mention whether they were murdered or whether they died of natural causes or what, but allegedly they are now dead. Yeah. Next morning, they were placed in wooden coffins and buried in the churchyard at Stapenhill, the village from which they had fled. What followed was amazing and truly remarkable. That very same day on which they were interred, they appeared at the evening, whilst the sun was still up, at Drakelow, carrying on their shoulders the wooden coffins in which they had been buried. The whole following night they walked through the paths and fields of the village, now in the shape of men carrying wooden coffins on their shoulders, now in the likeness of bears or dogs or other animals. They spoke to the other peasants, banging on the walls of their houses and shouting to those listening inside, "Move, quickly move, get going, come." When these astonishing events had taken place every evening and every night for some time, such a disease afflicted the village that all the peasants from it fell ill into desperate straits, and within a few days all except 3 perished by sudden death in a remarkable way. The Count, seeing these remarkable occurrences, was stunned and absolutely terrified. He immediately repented and came with his knights to the monastery, where he begged humble pardon, made a firm concord with the abbots and monks, and entreated them with prayers that they should all placate God. There you go, placate God and the Virgin whom he had offered. Before them all, with faithful devotion, he gave a command to Drogo the Reeve of the village that there should be double restitution for all the damage he had inflicted. And so, in peace of mind, he left the monastery and hastened without delay to his other lands. Drogo then quickly returned and restored double to the abbey, as he had been ordered, after seeking pardon yet again. He too left for the other parts with all haste, desiring to escape that lethal scourge. Don't really understand that part. Basically, the original owner of the land was like, shit, everyone's dying. Let's go to the monastery and basically beg for forgiveness from God.
So
the 2 peasants. Sorry, there's one last part. The 2 peasants who still remained in the village fell sick and languished for a long time, but some people, greatly afraid of the already mentioned dead men who fantastically carried their wooden coffins on their shoulders every evening and at night, as had been described, received permission from the bishop to go to their graves and dig them up. They found them still intact, but the linen cloths over their face were stained with blood. They cut off the men's heads and placed them in their graves between the legs, tore out the hearts from their corpses, and covered their bodies with earth again. They brought the hearts to a place called, I can't read that, and then burnt them from morning until evening. When, as if greatly compelled, they had at last been burned up, they cracked with a great sound, and everyone there visibly saw an evil spirit in the form of a crow fly from the flames. Yeah. Soon after this was done, both the disease and the haunting ceased. The 2 sick peasants in their bed recovered their health as soon as they saw the smoke rising from the fire where their hearts were burned. And then they got up and left the village because they were shit terrified, basically. And that's the story. There you go.
To pick this apart, summarize it, and make it more English. What we're saying is Village A had population, but shit leader.
Yes.
So population of Village A moves to Village B?
2 people of population A go to B because they
There's
don't want to
only
hang about
2.
anymore. It's only the 2 that were them
Okay.
haunting them. Yeah.
So 2 people go from Village A to B, and Village A leader gets upset.
Yeah. Village A leader gets upset and says, "Give us your crops because we've decided we don't like you anymore for leaving us and abandoning us and going to a different village."
It's fair. Territory, population territory,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. It makes sense. So 2 at Village B are then struck dead.
Yes.
Presumably murdered after threats from Village A leader.
Yep.
Okay. Village B associates, we shall call them, Gary and Jeff. So Gary and Jeff are then killed, buried in Village A once again, at the church in Village A.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And then come back each night following on from that, wandering the church with coffins upon shoulders.
Yes, they wander around the entirety of Village A, knocking on doors, and everyone, from what I've read, everyone's door that they knocked on, the people inside then became ill.
Okay,
and
so
died.
People that come into contact with Village B hauntees, Gary and Jeff, then turn ill, and within a few days of turning ill, die.
Yes. There were 2 people left, and they said, "Hey, I don't want to die." Well, no, there were people from Village B, I think, saw what was happening and were thinking, "Shit, that's not good." So they went and said, "Hello, can we dig these people up? Because your population is dying very quickly." The leader was like, "Yeah, sure," because I have no fucking clue how to deal with this.
Yeah.
They dug them up, cut their heads off. But from what I've read as well, when they found the bodies buried, they were still completely intact. And it sounds like at least a few weeks had passed, which you would normally see some even just discoloration in the bodies. So it sounds like it was fine. And the cloth that was on their face was covered in blood. I think there is a scientific reason for that. I think they probably just picked up some blood or some shit. I don't know how
it would
that
have been reflexes, I assume, pushing it back out.
That's what, that's what I'm thinking.
Some sort of natural expulsion. I think so. There's 2 ideas to this then. Village A was cursed and you were never allowed to leave it. And those who did leave it then obviously became tormented souls who subsequently tormented further the people in Village A. Or do we go with Village B was haunted and cursed and caused Village A to die? I'm a bit lost over this one.
It's a weird one, isn't it?
I think it's got some interesting ideas behind it, but it's just it seems fucking strange, doesn't it? Like,
yeah. Well, coffins will have been fucking heavy. Well,
yeah,
coffins
exactly.
are fucking
coffins
heavy.
are very heavy, and back then, I mean, I imagine the predominant wood used in a coffin like that would have been something along the lines of oak, going off of.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume once again US here. I don't know if it has the origin.
No, it was England.
Oh, it was England. Okay. Well, I suppose so. A monastery was very.
Sorry, yeah, it was Yorkshire sort of area.
Fucking hell, we're getting a lot coming out of Yorkshire now.
Yeah, no, I know. It's fucking northerners.
Okay, so going off of that, I mean, once again, we'll say probably along the lines of some variation of like, I don't know about witchcraft. Maybe witchcraft? If we're, because I'm gonna go off of here. One of the villages was haunted or cursed,
right?
Which, in religious terms back then, would have probably meant to do with witchcraft or something along those lines, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
In reality,
I'm wondering whether it was just 2 people fucking about.
I mean, can you? I'm all for fucking about, yeah, but fucking about with a coffin that probably weighs like 50, 60 kilos on one shoulder.
True.
I mean, you think, assuming they're of standard height, say 5'10", the coffins are going to be about 6 foot long, made of solid oak walls more than likely, or some sort of hardwood at least.
Yeah.
Like, fucking hell, that's a big stretch to go for a laugh, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I mean, I'd be down, but it does just sound like a load of work.
Oh, yeah, no, it does sound like a load of work. Plus, someone's brought up Yeah, it could have, in terms of the infection itself, it could have been tainted water. It could have been
Yeah, I mean, it could have
the
just been
fact everyone was
coincidence,
just
couldn't
shitting in the street, stuff like that. This was what 1100s.
it? Yeah,
There
more or
wasn't
less 1,000
exactly.
years.
Yeah, this was a long time ago, so there wasn't really how do I put it? Anything to protect your health in place.
Yeah, obviously,
So
medicinal things at hand were a lot lessened, if existent at all.
yeah, basically.
I mean, yeah,
So
it could have just been a coincidence, and maybe fucking Mr. Jeffrey's just tripping. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Who's to say there was any truth behind it at all?
Yeah,
I guess
no.
yeah, that one once again just seems a bit like a squirrel running up a tree. Do you know what I mean? It's just chasing something that
Yeah.
it's interesting. It would have been better in maybe a translated version,
Yeah, trust me.
just as some sort of Samarises. But I don't know. I like it. I like it. But
It's different.
it is different. Yeah, I think I don't know with something like that. I just feel like it's strange, isn't it? Because I mean, you never hear of bodies getting dug up nowadays, do you? In terms of
No, not particularly.
some
Well, not in
variation of a haunting, do you? At least.
No.
So, I mean, I guess back then we didn't obviously have the knowledge that we have now, and maybe it made sense to dig up the body. But like, you'd think that if 900 years ago it was possible for someone to just dip out of their coffin and start mincing about doing their thing,
Yeah.
like you'd think that that shit would still be happening now. But that seems like a lot lesser now. Like in terms of paranormal stories between what like a regular paranormal story now in comparison to what you hear from a few hundred to 1,000 years ago, it just seems
Yeah.
a lot different, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, but that's why I like the old ones, because the old ones are normally full of like absolute crackpot stories. They're
Yeah,
just great because you hear ones now and they're relatively grounded and relatively believable. You hear ones then, you're just thinking, what the fuck? So you've just got two Muppets pottering around a village with some fuck off coffins on their back, knocking on doors, telling people they're going to die.
I mean, yeah, it just, I don't know, that one seems either like it was a joke, which I don't think the humour back then was necessarily along those lines, was it?
No.
Or potentially just a series of unfortunate events. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think all of personally, after reading through that one, I just thought, right, well, this all just seems a bit too coincidental.
Yeah.
Because there will have been plagues and shit that won't have been given the actual name plague. Because there were no real doctors to say, oh, yeah, no, you're fucked, mate, you're infected. So I think anything spreading that rapidly, especially in what sounds like quite a close-knit community where they don't want people leaving or coming in.
Inbreds.
Yeah, basically. It sounds like it'd be quite easy for a lot of them to get infected at once and a lot of them to die very quickly.
Well, yeah.
It does seem odd that some people were infected and survived, but then again, we also don't know, were they infected to the same degree as everyone else, or were they just infected with a little bit of a cold? They got the sniffles.
It's not just that. It's like if you look at even modern diseases now, you have everything. Everyone is affected differently by things that potentially everyone can suffer from. You look at the coronavirus, people are dying from that. Some people are coming out of it absolutely fine with literally just a loss of their smell. You look at things like cancer's obviously not like a pandemic or a virus or anything, but it's something that everyone at some point could potentially have. And everyone is affected differently, isn't it? I guess it could potentially be down to fitness, health, just general genes and genetics, that sort of shit. I guess there's so much to it. And like back then, that obviously wasn't anything that really kind of came about, was there?
Yeah. Or just pure luck that some people survived and that some didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that kind of covers the disease side of it. Is I think personally that was just a bit coincidental.
It was just a big unlucky coincidence. Personally, that's what it sounds like to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. The people knocking around. I mean, I don't know. It could have been a dog. Because if it was middle of the night, it could have been any sort of animal, and people could have just said, "Oh, I heard them saying words."
That's the thing. All it takes is one person to talk about it to start with, and then people follow like sheep, don't they? They go with what's already
It's like-
made up or what they think is true.
It's like
you know what I
Chinese
mean?
whispers, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, when you sit there in a circle at school, you whisper something to the person next to you, and you get to the end of the line, and what you've said at the start is completely fucking different.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
that could be what happened. If someone's just gone, oh, I think there's an animal knocking about, it was banging on the door, you know, it goes to the next village over, and the next village over here's, yeah, there's some crackpot who's wandering around, I don't know, giving diseases to everyone. Don't know
Seems a
about
bit
that
bizarre.
one.
Seems a bit bizarre.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So have you? I know we briefly touched on this the other day before you and I actually went live when we were talking about topics. One story that fascinates me, and this is a lot more modern, is I think it originated since about the 80s in Cannock Chase, so up north, sort of like Birmingham way, I want to say.
Birmingham.
Birmingham.
Canal.
So basically, they are, which I found quite interesting. There's multiple counts of children being seen, and normally a group of very, very young children, and we're talking sort of like 6 to 10, maybe. Just 2 or 3 kids at a time, and they looked exactly like a normal kid, but had deep black eyes. Do you know what I mean? More like sockets for eyes. I was initially told this story 2 years ago or so when I was actually up there at the time. And I just remember going, "Fuck that! Imagine that cunt knocking at your door." And I found it fascinating. It's been one of those stories that has stuck me ever since. I just found interesting. And basically, it would be, there was a lot of counts of it, but once again, going into terms of like people accounting for it, could just be following the crowd, following what's hot, that sort of shit.
Yeah.
But basically, it would be this group of, say, 2 or 3 children would come up and they'd knock on your front door. And obviously, you know, you have someone knocking at your door late at night. What do? You answer it with a bit of caution. And you either talk to them through the door or you have the like a latch on or something. And now the story is that it would be these small kids and they would be begging to come in. They would say, "Please help us, please help us, please help us, come in. Let us in, let us in, let us in. You know, please help us, please help us. We need to come in, we need to come in, we need to come in." And supposedly anyone that answered the door and let them in would then be found dead the next day. The only ones who ever survived it were the ones who didn't open the door. And this was the same story. They would either knock on your front door or they would knock on your car door, asking for, you know, help, for sanctuary, for safety. Never necessarily gave a reason that I'm aware of. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any sort of reasons that they gave for wanting to come in, but they would basically just be begging for you to allow them in. Do you know what I mean? And it was like,
Yeah.
okay, that's interesting, but why? And then as soon as like you'd open the door, they'd kill you essentially. Which I just found fucking bizarre. Like, why? Where does this even begin? Where does this even?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
It became known as like regular sightings.
Yeah. But do you think? Well, actually, yeah. I suppose I was about to say, how do you think that anyone actually was able to recount the fact that they had black eyes? I suppose if you did see them, then you'd know, wouldn't you?
It wasn't that you saw them and you died. It was if you let them in, you died.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah, you could see them if you had the latch on. You open the door a bit, then you could see them and tell them to fucking
some
do
people.
one.
I know it's not as frequent in the UK, but in the UK, you might have a peephole on your door. I know they have a lot of them in the US, but I know they're not very frequent here, admittedly. Or glass in your door. You know, we've got glass in our doors.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I found that topic interesting because like. Fucking strange, really, isn't it? Where does that even start to come from?
That's kind of stumped me. So you've got people. Well, effectively, if we take the idea that children could be behind this, you've basically got someone come into a door begging for help, and then the next day ends up murdered with zero clues as to how, or well, not necessarily zero clues as to how, but zero clues as to why they were murdered.
I mean, I think I rule out the idea of it being a laugh. Because the idea is, it is actual like infants, like children, you know, primary school
right.
level children sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a joke because it's also a relatively recent one. It's within the last sort of 40, 50 years.
And no one would let a kid out of that age
Yeah, because,
willingly
I mean,
that late at night.
to my knowledge, whenever my mum was younger, she used to have to be home before it was dark and things like that.
Yeah.
But like, and that was more or less the same with me at that sort of age. Like, you know, I could only go
Yeah.
out where my mum could see me. So I don't think it's a joke. And even if it was a joke, it would have to be orchestrated by an adult, surely.
Yeah.
So where
mean,
does that even come from? Do you know what I mean?
Bex brought up a good point, which I was trying to wrap my head around because my first thought was somehow robbery ? But she's got a good point. If you have kids, if you're relatively poor, you get the kids, get them to the front door, get them to bang a hammer away and tell them that they need to be let in. Your parents around the back door. Okay, well, phrasing, but you know, I don't think the murder is necessarily needed. But
Maybe.
I'm just wondering how the story came about that linked.
But the thing is, the stories about when the bodies were found and stuff never related to anything being missing or being ransacked. It was just the people dead on the floor.
It's a good point, actually, yeah.
So unless you've got some psychotic parents that are just like, let's just go around on a murdering spree and we'll use the kids to get us in and start a big old fucking riot over it and make everyone think this. But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just seemed, I don't know, there doesn't seem to be any sort of like, most of the time you can kind of come up with some sort of rhyme or reason behind it.
Yeah.
This one just seemed so fucking bizarre and bespoke. And even if, so say you have got a man and a woman at home sat in the living room, right? 2 kids knock on your front door, one of them goes and answers. Right, why do you need them to open that door to come in and murder them when essentially you've already got them up? You could bust through a window, come through anywhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just seems...
Yeah.
You know, I don't necessarily think that is the reasoning behind it. But I don't know what is. It is one of those things that you either put down to just a rumor that got spread around funny and is now, you know.
So in your mind, personal question, are you believing any truth to this story whatsoever? Are you believing bits of it could be true, bits of it are complete bollocks, or are you believing
I think
the entire
something
thing is a
like
load
this
of tap?
that just seems so fucking bespoke has to have some variation of an element of truth.
Yeah.
How big that is, I don't know, because I don't. But I mean, you go up there and you speak to some people about it, and I can guarantee they probably all think it's got some sort of truth to it.
Oh yeah,
you know what
probably.
I mean? And there was another one. It's pretty fucking. It's known for being pretty haunted up there.
Yeah.
I want to say it's called.
Right, I'll try and think of some more random facts. There was a fact I heard this morning. In the past, I think it was 30 years, we have lost 75% of bee species. Okay, you can carry on now.
So there's another story. Cannock ultimately is just one of those dead booky places that you go up there and it's a shithole, but you just get bad vibes from it. Do you know what I mean?
And it's northern.
Well, yeah, there is that. There's north of London. It's got to be a bit of a dump. But they have this massive fucking forest there, and it's called Cannock Chase. And it's like acres and acres. It's something like 500 acres, I want to say. I might be off on that, but I know it's fucking incredibly big. And there's essentially this guy. It's one of those things, like you walk around it during the day and it's absolutely fine. We walked around it during the day. And at night, you kind of just look into it and it looks never ending. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it basically surrounds the whole fucking place. But there's myths or whatever you want to call it behind a man in there called the Pigman. And you can hear like screeching coming from in there at night, which it's described as a like a shrill screeching, like the screeching of a person.
Yeah.
Not as in like foxes boning. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a book on it about. There's a couple of books on it, but supposedly he roams and is half man, half pig, and this has been sort of since the 40s. But he's also been like spotted multiple times supposedly. And now this is the thing. This whole area is kind of like a hotspot for paranormal activity. There seems to be a lot of beliefs regarding what's there and what's, a lot of people are like, there's this here, there's this there, and blah, blah, blah. And some people say it's a scare tactic, like a military scare tactic. They'll say, we'll make up a myth or something to keep people away, because it's an army occupied area, and that might have been why it originated in the 40s, around potentially World War II time. But there doesn't seem to be anything. Supposedly, from this article, the most recent encounter that's been spoken about was from a bird called Claire.
A bird called Claire.
So, in an email to the guy who wrote this book, kneeling down in the dirt was what looked like a man wearing trousers, a blazer, but no shirt. His face was totally deformed, and I can almost certainly say he had a snout. Supposedly, the thing was 7 feet tall. From the neck down, it looked like a man, even wearing clothes, but his head was far too big for a human, and it had an elongated face with a snout-like nose. Geezer said that when he pointed it out to his wife, she became terrified, so we started walking more quickly towards our car. That's when we started to hear this really high-pitched squealing noise. There you go. Lee's keeping an open mind over the fuck Lee. And then, but it's...
I think there's one key thing that all of our listeners need to understand. Those of you not from England, you need to know that we are all very fond of a drink. So I think that some of these stories may be polluted by someone just having a few too many brewskis and thinking, I'll go for a wander. And then you've just got some fuck ugly geezer who just wants to chill and have a joint. And everyone's just like, he's the bloke who's a pig.
I love a drink, and I've got myself in some right states, as we all know. But I'm not like close to the idea of paranormality and things that go on like that. I'm not opposed to it. I think it's quite interesting. I think it's quite. I'm open to the idea. I'm happy to sort of let it happen.
Yeah.
And I can safely say I've never been blasted and called seeing a ghost.
No, it's true. It's true. I'll give you that. Speaking of woods, though, and I know this is completely unrelated to that, but there is something that I find about woods. Again, exactly like you said in that story. During the day, completely fine, couldn't give a shit. During the night, there is just something unnerving about woods. I don't know what it is.
I think,
but not necessarily in a way of like, I think there's a physical being, watching me or whatever.
Not necessarily in a sinister way.
Yeah, it's just something isn't right.
The weird part about woods for a lot of people is just the fact that they're dark anyway. Even in daytime, they're pretty dark. Do you know what I mean? Especially like an evergreen forest or something like that, where it's constantly got leaf cover.
Yeah, it's very thick.
It's very thick. And there is... one day I'll take you to the woods near me. There's a particular part of it that has been dubbed as literally just the dark woods. Right, and it's outside. It's right outside the church, and it is literally just a big square. It's about like an acre or two. It's not that big, but it literally forms like a big square shape, and it is more or less dead square, and it's got the same type of tree in it. And for whatever reason, it is always dark there. You can see through to the sky. It's not like it's completely covered, but it's incredibly dark in comparison to the rest of it. And there's no real reason for it, because you wouldn't look at it from the top and think, looks like it should be pitch black down there. But regardless of the time of day, it's always so much darker. But it's not even like a shadow dark. It is more like it is more just like a deep sort of like dusky type feel to it, which is really bizarre. And then when it's nighttime, if the moon is out and you've got relatively good like visibility in the night sort of time, you can see for a lot of the rest of the woods. This bit is pitch black. You can't see you can't see this far in front of you. It's fucking bizarre. It's not alleged to be haunted, but it is just incredibly dark. And I think woodlands have that kind of effect on you anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because ultimately they are dark.
I suppose to a degree, it's almost fear of the unknown.
Yeah,
which could be driving it.
I think so.
Humans like to see things.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. It's a bit like I I have a really weird fear, and some of you may also share in this fear. And some of you may not know you have this fear until you go and search up some photos of it and realize that something is really unsettling about it. It's called submechanophobia. Really weird. It's basically just like man-made objects, be it planes, big fuck off like freight ships, submarines, shit like that in the ocean, where you can only see about half of it before it just, it becomes murky. To me, really unsettling. And I hate it.
Really?
And it's not necessarily that I'm afraid of the ocean, but that kind of inability to see stuff really just, I can't deal with it. It's so weird. I'm happy to go swimming in the ocean. I'll fuck about a bit. But I think it's that fear of the unknown and that fear of, my autism says I want to see shit.
Yeah.
As soon as I can't see it, I'm like, well, I don't fucking trust that.
Really? That's bizarre. Is that necessarily water specific, or is that... So say you're driving along a really dark road and it's foggy. Would the same thing have effect here?
Do you know what? I never thought about it that way, but I don't think
next time you drive home from mine and it's fucking dark, you're going to be like,
I don't want to see a submarine. No, do you know what? When I think about it that way, no. So maybe it is something to do with the water, and maybe it is just something to do with the fact that I know I can run away, but swimming away, I'm a lot slower in water.
When you say sub, I instantly put that alongside water. Submarine, submarinal.
Yeah.
Below.
It's below.
It essentially is under, isn't it? And so, I mean, I look at that as kind of water-based. I don't know if that's...
Yes. No, it in effect, it is.
Is it specific to man-made things? Like you're in it or you can see it?
Yeah, I would say so. If I'm looking at things like shores of coral or something, and I can't see the edge of it, I don't really give a shit. As soon as it's like a big oil rig and I can see like a couple of its, big sort of feet things or columns, that just books me out. It's so weird.
Really?
There's a key picture of it online. If you search it, this will probably be the first picture that comes up, which is one of these big freight ships, and it's a diver sitting on the propeller of the ship. And I can't deal with it. It's so weird. I just can't deal with it. I can sit here and look at them.
So it's almost like...
I'm not gonna start squealing like a girl if I see it, but something is just really unnerving about it.
Essentially something being so large that you can't see the end of it underwater.
I suppose so, yeah. But in the same token, I could see a ship, like if I saw a relatively small, like maybe a fishing boat submerged, like it just sunk and it's been there for ages.
Yeah.
Something about that is weird to me as well. I could probably swim around it, but you wouldn't catch me fucking dead inside of it. Something about it's just weird. And I've no idea what the origin of it is. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that underwater. So I can't really say it's anything to do with that.
It's not like it's even something that, it's not like you've ever been fucking out boating and had a bad experience or anything like that, is it?
No, not at all. But for some reason, there is something that inherently inside of me I despise. And I don't like it.
Do you think once again it's to do with the unknown? Because...
Well, I think it is, yeah. I think that is a fear of the unknown, a fear of me not being able to see it, and a fear of me not being able to see what the fuck is inside of that damn boat.
Pull this up over the top.
So go for it.
So, like, obviously you have submarine here.
You can screen share if it makes it any easier.
Okay, yeah.
Don't worry, I'm not gonna start crying. I hope. I don't know. It'd be good content if I do actually.
Well, okay, it's kind of not really. Oh, screenshot. So, like,
yeah,
like this. If you look at that, you've got just things essentially disappearing off into the distance. Yeah. That's what you mean, is it?
Yeah, that and the fact that I don't know what the fuck is inside of whatever the fuck that is.
So you're more worried about the inside of it?
I think so. See that so just to the top right of that sea mine, that fucks me up. No idea why. No, to the top right, the picture to the top right of that.
This one.
The green, the front of the plane. That fucks me up.
Really?
No idea why.
I kind of really get it,
that really fucks me up.
Oh, it says your stream is still running, but it's not going to show it. Sick.
I'll be interested to see if we get anyone saying they share this kind of thing, to me, that's just one of the creepiest things. I have no idea why.
I find that strange. I don't necessarily find that scary.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
That to me is exciting. I think I have the opposite effect on something like that. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, saying that, I used to be shit scared of the dark. And even to a point now, it's still sort of, sorry, I'm fascinated by these pictures. They're actually beautiful pictures in my opinion.
Yeah, well, lucky you. I can't fucking stick them.
But like, I used to be terrified of the dark to the point where it almost stays with me now. Like, I mean, it's not like I sleep with a nightlight on. I used to, admittedly, when I was fucking younger.
Yeah.
But like, I would still, even just walk in to the toilet now, I'll turn the light on the way, and the toilet's only fucking 10 meters away from me. And it's not to do with the fact that I don't trust myself to not walk into anything, because I don't care about that part. Just I prefer to be able to see. And it's kind of followed me in that respect. It's not like I'm going to sit there crying if I'm locked in a fucking dark room, but I'm probably actually only going to say maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I used to be terrified of it.
Which is weird, because that's something that I don't think I've ever really had. Again, when I was a kid, I liked sleeping with some light coming into my room, which possibly was for the same reason, possibly was for just fear of the unknown. But then it got to a point where I was just like, oh my God, I just want pitch black. I can't fucking sleep now. Just fuck off, which is weird.
See, so like Sam has just said here about swimming in the unknown.
Yes.
If you were to go swimming and you swam deeper out than normal and you couldn't see the bottom, would that freak you out?
Probably, yeah, to be honest.
Like, if you had no idea how deep it was?
Definitely, yes.
Really?
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, that's weird to me. It's like, I have full props to those people that, I don't know if you've ever seen any of the videos, but they tend to make absolutely gorgeous films about people who just hold their breath for minutes and minutes on end, and they'll go really deep down in the ocean and just have a wander about. They're great to watch, but I sit there and think, fuck off, am I ever doing that? I hate it.
Do you consider yourself a strong swimmer?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure you and I have actually been swimming before, haven't we? I can't remember why. I want to say we have, though.
I don't know. It's probably to finger each other. It's probably an excuse
I seem
for some sort of gay sex.
I seem to remember you being in a fucking swimming costume, and that was all I remember. But for the purposes of this, we're going to say that we were swimming.
Yeah.
Now, I don't ever remember you being a particularly weak swimmer on the occasion that we may have gone together. But I find it fascinating, mate. If you put me in a sea and just say you can swim, I'm like, yeah, gang. Do you know what I mean? I would love to swim the channel one day. That's one of my goals, is just to swim the channel.
More power to you. I ain't doing that shit.
But I've always loved water. I've always been like subaquatic in my own fucking right. Do you know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
If you put me in a pool, if you put me in the fucking sea, I'm gonna have a cracking time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't give a shit what's happening. I'm like, boy, here we go. And I don't know. I went even when I was a kid. I think I was about 4 or 5, and I went fucking snorkeling in Egypt in the sea. I don't know if it was the Red Sea. It might be. It was one of the seas. The Red Sea can hold life, can't it? Because it's incredibly salty, so things float really easily.
I thought that was the Dead Sea.
I think they're called the Dead Sea.
I thought, maybe they are the same thing. I know that one of them, like humans, can float on top of it because of how much fucking salt's in it.
Yeah, so it's incredibly buoyant, isn't it? But I want to say they're the same thing.
Yeah, they might be. I could have sworn they were different, but I don't know. I haven't exactly done much research into it.
Dead Sea. Maybe they got different names then. I went snorkeling in one of them, and I just remember this massive fish, and it looked like it had 2 fucking humongous teeth. I just remember being like slightly underwater, and it was a snorkel. It wasn't like a proper like breathing apparatus. I ducked my head in to get closer, and obviously fucking took a load of water in. Came back up like thinking I was gonna fucking die, but I just found it fascinating. Like I really do. I would love to do that again, but go deeper. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but what's weird with me is I have zero problem swimming with fish at all. I mean, I would love to one day swim with sharks. I think sharks are fucking
That was going to be my next question. Would you do a shark tank, but not in a controlled environment, in a tank in the middle of the sea? You're still going to have that murky effect.
No, I'm still going to have that murky effect. I'm still going to have that area below me that I cannot see, but part of me wants to do it. It's like one of my, it's a weird lifelong goal, but one of the goals that I've always wanted to do is swim with manta ray. I fucking love them. Just big sea flaps. They just potter along. They do absolutely fuck all day, every day. They just float around. But I love them. I think they're
Big
great.
bin bags.
Yeah, basically. But I would love to swim with them, despite the fact that, again, that'd be really deep out, and I don't think I could hack looking down. But I think, oddly enough, I think I would be all right in that environment and in an environment with sharks, because the oceans tend to be clearer. With English seas especially, it's very murky and very just shit water coming out of the Thames, you know?
Yeah. Have you watched, and now I know this is fiction, have you watched Megalodon?
No, but I've been meaning to watch it.
Watch it. It's the massive shark. Watch it. It's actually really good. I fucking ended up watching it twice. But I really, really enjoyed the film. It is very far-fetched. It is one of those ones that's just been slated on sites like Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes.
But I fucking adored it. And I don't know if I just like the idea of a fucking humongous shark. But that is set in a water research facility, half of which is below water, half of which is above water. And below the water part, it's just murk. Like, you really can't see much. And then, so, like, I'm trying to understand the fear here and understand, is it just that fear of the unknown? Are you scared something's going to come out from the murk?
I honestly, if I had an answer, I would tell you. I'm wondering, at this point, I just believe it's one of those weird, irrational fears.
Yeah.
It's
Are you
almost
scared
like,
of heights?
Not particularly, I wouldn't say. I'm more scared. You know, there's a great video on this by Tom Scott, which I watched. You know, when you get to the edge of something and you're really high up and your body almost feels like it's falling forwards. That's a genuine thing going on in your brain, which, if I remember correctly, is your body's, it's the human thing of just curiosity. So your body is wanting to jump off, as if to say, what's going to happen?
It's almost like, it's that kind of subconscious thing. If you, like, despite whoever you are, however you're feeling, you stand next to a motorway, part of you, your subconscious is always constantly going, what happens if I step out in front of this lorry? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just that kind of subconscious thing of, like, I know I shouldn't do it, but I kind of want to. Like, I get it driving home sometimes. I'm like, I'll be driving home, I'll be going like fucking 80, 90 miles an hour, and I'm like, what would happen if I just swerved in front of someone?
It's like, what if I swerve? What if I just jumped out of the car now? Just, would I survive? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think to that degree, when I'm up there and you get that, I get almost feeling in the pit of my stomach. So I'm not a massive fan of it, but I wouldn't sit there and say I couldn't look over the edge or something.
Now,
but oddly, in the same vein, I would also love to go skydiving one day.
I really want to go skydiving as well.
I really want to.
See, this is my, like, perhaps misunderstanding behind this fear is I went, I climbed a mountain a couple of years ago in Wales. It's not like a particularly big mountain. I think it's technically no, it wasn't DV. It was I think it is the biggest mountain in
Ben Nevis, I think, something.
No, it's called something else. It's called like the King's Chair or something. I can't remember what the actual name was, but it's dubbed as like the King's Chair because it has like a big fucking hole in it, and then the mountain comes up top and basically just drops vertically into like a basin type thing.
Yeah.
And now we climbed to the top. It took a good few hours because I was stuck with a bunch of tits. Got to the top, and there's no railings or anything. You're basically free to. If you want to fucking jump off, no one's going to stop you, innit?
Yeah.
And I was pissing hard of rain, and I got up to the top, and I just like looked over the edge, and I was like, "Do you know what I mean?" And because it's Wales and the weather's always shit, but you was incredibly high up anyway. It was like there was clouds beneath you, so you couldn't see the bottom.
Yeah.
Do you think that would freak you out? Because once again, it's almost like looking into murk, isn't it?
I don't know. Yeah, to a degree it is. But I think there's something about I almost feel much safer on land when it comes to stuff like
that. Maybe. I think it's kind of
much more in
isn't
control.
It? You know what a bush looks like. You don't know what the bottom of the ocean looks like.
Yeah. Well, like someone said, there's only like 5% of the sea is accurately mapped.
Yeah.
we know, we know what a star looks like. I don't know, 5-6 galaxies away. We can't tell what the fuck is even on our planet at this point, which is fucking weird to me.
Though, man. I genuinely
Yeah.
do. If someone said to me, you could go on like an expedition in a submarine for 6 months, all you got to do is just sit on the submarine and look out the window. I'll be like, bet, on my way. Do you know what I mean? I would love to do that.
What's weird is I don't think I could hack that. I don't think I could hack being on a submarine. I don't know whether that leads into a bit of claustrophobia though. But
maybe,
I don't know. I think there's some claustrophobia in there, which I think I get. I don't get it massively, but I don't know if you've ever seen the people that go, oh God, what's it called? I think it's called caving. I think where people go and they specifically find the smallest hole possible and try and get as far down as possible. And I think it's fucking stupid because there was one guy that went really far down a cave and he was going headfirst into a hole and he got wedged in the hole. He realized he couldn't go forwards any further, so he tried to go backwards. He realized he couldn't get out. Everyone else who was already in the hole couldn't pull him out because they couldn't get any like torsion on it. And by the time that any help had arrived, he was already dead because all the blood had rushed to his brain and he died.
Hmm.
And that to me creeps me out because I'm like, why the fuck would anybody do that? Well, I mean, for the adrenaline rush, I suppose, but
yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm a bit deprived of the adrenaline rush of life a bit at the minute.
Well, I think everyone's
so like the idea of
point.
that to me just sounds so much fun because like to me it doesn't doing something like that doesn't feel like imminent danger. It just feels exciting. Do you know what I mean? It feels like I can just wander down a fucking hole to nowhere and see what happens. It feels exciting more than just imminently dangerous and scary. Do you know what I mean? So I would love to go caving. I would love to go like proper scuba diving and like in a shark tank. Yeah. And I'd love to do skydiving. They're like a few things that I would love to do. I think the scuba diving and the shark tank is definitely top of the list of my priorities. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think if you ever get the option to do it, I think like especially diving with sharks, I'd say that's one thing. Definitely don't say no to that option.
I think we should try and sign up for Shark Tank.
I think we should just fuck off to some tropical place. We'll do a podcast from there of us sitting there getting boozed up on a beach. All right, boys, we're going to sign off. We're going to go and swim with some fucking sharks. You can't. I'm seeing a bit pissed out of our minds.
I would love to. Absolutely trashed out my fucking nut on tropical fucking whiskey or some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would love to, man. I really would. I'm going to sort out us going on a fucking shot.
I would be more than happy to join you on that. How do you feel about this one? This has been brought. Sorry, if you've got something else to actually add.
Go on. Carry on.
I'm not even going to try and spell that out. Sorry, I'm just going to sling that in the chat. How do you feel about that one? Someone put this in the chat, and I'll be interested to see how you feel about it. McCamey Manor, we will get to that at some point. We'll get to that. We're doing that. We've already discussed this Friday. Yes.
Why has this not come up for me, Ben?
What do you mean? If you click on the link, what's it doing?
Oh, there's no link in the chat. Can you send it in Discord?
I have sent it in Discord.
Oh, I'm looking in stream chat.
Oh, that would explain it then, wouldn't it? It doesn't like me posting links in chat. Someone was, I think it was you that was telling me when I was posting my Twitch, it was not coming up.
Tripop phobia. Oh, is this the fear of small holes?
Yeah, clusters of small holes or bumps.
Yeah.
Does this do anything for you or not?
No.
Because it doesn't do anything for me at all. Some people are absolutely horrified by it.
On the fingers and the hands freak me out a little bit. Just because it looks unnatural. If you click on go on images.
Yes, no, I am on images, so yeah, I can see this.
That seems strange. Plants doesn't bother me, like the honeycomb idea of it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
Once I'm scared of it, I just feel a bit uncomfortable looking at it.
I see. I'm the opposite. Maybe not the hand one that's there, but the one on the foot one. See, if that was like on my arm or something, and this is like genuine autism talking. Every time I see that picture, I just want to chew it and see what the texture is like. I don't know why. I just want to fucking chew it. If it was on my arm, I'd just chew it.
I mean, I don't think I'd want to do that.
See, that face is weird, but that's my immediate like spastic response in my brain. Is just
that doesn't really bother me at all. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That's just like whatever. Like, I think it's a little bit strange, admittedly, but like, you know, if you came up to me, Charles, look at this, and your arm's just full of holes, I'd be like, the fuck, Ben, why are you showing me that?
How have you fucking managed that?
Yeah, like, what have you been doing, man? Like, prodding yourself with fucking spears or some shit. Like, I'd get it away. But it's not like I'm going to sit there and chunder or start crying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think it's fucking strange.
Fear of spiders. Have you got it?
No, I mean, if I woke up and there's a tarantula on my face, I think I might be a bit like, oh, you can't get away. But I'm not going to If someone picks up a small spider and starts going, oh, look at this, Charles, I'm going to be like, all right, cunt, what do you want? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, what about you? Are you particularly fond of...
I'm not particularly fond of them. I think there is an innate creepiness about them, but I wouldn't say that if I see one in my room, I absolutely shit myself kind of thing. Most of them I let live in my room. If one of them's just chilling in the corner of my room, I don't really give a shit. I just let it live. It's like, cool, you can deal with all the flies and shit and deal with the other spiders that come in. You can fucking sort it, mate.
They used to freak me out. And
I
think bigger ones might still freak me out. But in terms of like a small spider, I'm just like...
Oh, nah. Especially in terms of small spiders, I don't care. And even I suppose the more like spindly ones, like the really
like daddy
thin
long
ones,
legs type things.
Like daddy long legs type things. I don't really give a shit about them. There's one that I think it's like the biggest spider that Britain actually has. And it's quite thick. It's got quite thick legs, quite a thick abdomen. It's quite a large lad, and they've got some fucking gas on them. And I remember this because one day I was staying around one of my exes, and she was saying, "Oh, Ben, I think there's a spider on the wall." And I was like, "Nah, it's just the pipe work. I want to go to bed. Fuck off. It's like 3 a.m. Let me sleep." And she was like, "Nah, I don't want to deal with it." I was like, "All right, fine." So I woke up and turned on the light, and sure enough, there was this big fuck off spider just sort of chilling there. And I was like, "All right, cool. Can we go to bed now?" She was like, "No, get rid of it." I was like, "All right, fine." So I got a pint glass, slammed it over it. And normally where spiders don't do shit, this one, within like half a second, had run up the glass and obviously onto the inside where my hand was. So I didn't flinch away, but I was sort of holding it like, all right, fucking hell, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared for that. Of course, me in my like 3 a.m. mind, I hadn't really thought of a follow-up. So I was now standing half on the bed, half leaning against the wall with my hand on a glass with a spider on the other side. And I was just like, I don't have anything to slide under there. So she was frantically searching. I think we found a CD case or something to put underneath it. And then the second time, one turned up in my room. And again, it was a different ex, and she was sitting there, actually. I was sitting here. I think I was in my underwear or trackies or some shit. And as she said, she saw it just run across the floor next to my foot and just sit under my desk. We were both pissed. We were both pissed drunk, because she just said, "Oh, Ben, what? Check under your foot." I was like, "What? Oh, what the fuck?" I was fucking wankered, so I didn't really understand what was going on. And
it's a fish.
I was just sort of sitting there like, well, how am I going to deal with that? Because I can't get a glass around it because it was like half up against the wall. I was like, well, how are we going to deal with that? And I remember she went in like one of my boxes of tat and got a pair of scissors and just stabbed it. And I was just sitting there like, what?
I know how it is potentially seen as immoral, but like, if this little motherfucker comes and invades my privacy and is like in my room, I'll just kill it. That's my way of dealing with it, innit? But and I think there was actually one painted into my walls, because on this wall I used to have 2 photo frames, and one just was next to the photo frame. So I lifted it up, waited until it went underneath, and then just slammed the photo frame against it on the wall. And it stayed there forever, because I was just like, I don't need to clean it off. It's a fucking spider. It'll just go. Nothing eats a dead spider. So this fucker stayed there. And then when I redecorated a few months ago, I just remember looking at it like, well, it's pretty ground in there now. I'm not scraping it off to refill.
I'm not going to get a chisel and like start chiseling underneath.
I straight up just painted over it. Like, I'm pretty sure somewhere, I think it's roughly behind my light. If you were to move my light and look and rub against the wall, you could probably feel the outline of this dead fucking spider.
Fucking hell.
But like, it's not because I'm scared of them. I'm straight up too lazy to fucking like pick it up and take it somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I've got the same thing. You know those fucking flying bastards?
What ones? There's loads of little bastards. That fly.
Like Daddy Longlegs, but with wings. They just fuck me off.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine with spiders. As soon as those things come in, they're getting whacked with a shoe, and I just don't care. I still, like, there are sections of my room. There's one over there. I think there's one still on the back of my door, which no one's noticed, because obviously who looks at the back of my door? There's probably there's one on the ceiling up there, and there's one in that poster, and they're just dead. And I just can't be fucked to move, because once I squash them, I'm like, well, do you know what? My theory is this is a message to all of your mates.
Fuck away from me, bitch.
Yeah, basically.
I feel that. I mean, it doesn't like
they just
really
annoy me.
Don't bother me. It's just like, you know what I mean. When in the heat of the summer, we had a massive fly problem here.
Yeah, I remember you complaining
do you
about
remember
on
me
stream every other 5 minutes.
Stream,
yeah,
every 5 minutes. I'd be sat there. I'd be absolutely fine. It'd be dead in here. It'd be nothing. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting molested by flies, and it doesn't like scare me or bother me. It's just fucking irritating.
Yeah, no, I remember you saying.
And the problem was, the little fuckers were so incessant on landing on me as well.
Yeah,
they would just land on my arm, and it's like, fuck away from me. Do you know what I mean?
It's because you got that like juicy, boozy midsummer heat sweat, you know,
booze and fucking energy drink sweat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt they were all fucking alcoholics after a few days, and they just kept coming back for more.
Can't blame
with
them,
the alcohol.
I would hate to think what the concentration of alcohol is in my fucking sweat.
Someone said an irrational fear of bees, which I find interesting. I think bees are quite cute. I think they just kind of vibe.
I think bees and wasps are very much interchangeable in this sort of thing, though, because things that fly and sting you is essentially what I think people are talking about here. Because my mum is horrified of anything that can fly and sting you. Like to the point where we'll be sat at a barbecue and like, obviously the best thing to do if a wasp or a bee comes is just
not really react.
Chill, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Her first thing, if she sees one within like 10 meters, she's up and she is bolted. And I think for her it's worsened because she has never once been stung. And it's the fear of not knowing what it's going to feel like. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I've been stung so many times, it's like, whatever. Like, it's just some little prick that's going to come along, sting me, and I'll be back fine again after 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's a pain in the arse, but it's not going to...
It's just more irritable than anything. I remember it used to hurt as a kid, but, like, now it's not something that particularly bothers me.
Speaking of stinging things, I do have a story about that, but I'll let you finish.
But I mean, like for me, I remember we had a parcel delivered once, and I was very young at the time. I was 9 or 10, and it was delivered next door. So it was heat of the summer. Now you know, out the front of my door, Ben, you've got that kind of like little bit of like brickwork that kind of goes along into next doors under my window.
Yes, yeah.
And there's no like there's like a hole in the wall that you can walk through, like a gap in the wall.
Yeah.
So I walked across there, and as I walked across there, I didn't do anything to antagonize it or anything like that. I just walked. This big old motherfucking bee flew out from the flower bed and just stung me square in the cheek. I just remember breaking down in tears, like fucking really hurt.
Yeah.
And it did hurt. Like it does hurt.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the first time I'd been stung by one, but like. At that point, it was like, fuck, that hurts. And then I got stung by one like 2 years ago. I've been stung quite a few times, but the most recent time was probably about 2 years ago. And it was actually on my broken leg. And it was when my leg was broken in the heat of the summer. I just had the staples taken out. Everything was uncovered again. So there was basically just this healing fucking scar coming up my leg. My leg was really tender at this point. It stung me right on the shin. And I remember thinking, this is going to hurt so much. I didn't feel a thing.
Ow.
I was like, bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. But it's like, I think the nerve, I've got really bad nerve damage in my leg now anyway. But so like, I think as long as it's stung in line with the plate, I don't think it would hurt anymore. Like if it stung the lower part of my leg, I think it would just be like, yeah, whatever. Like you can fucking straight up toe punt it and it doesn't hurt. You know what I mean?
Don't fucking tempt me. I need to take out my anger on you somehow.
Not on my leg. I don't need it broken again. They've literally said, we'll amputate your leg if you break it again. That was what they said. Oh,
good.
To me.
Well, now I know what to barter for when you're pissing me off. Shark, do you want to lose your leg
again? Yeah, but it's not just my leg you got to break. You've got to break the fucking titanium plate inside of it. I looked it up.
It's
People
fine.
have shot the same type of plate that's in my leg, and that's just bulletproof with AR rounds, which I think is sick. Like, my leg is straight up bulletproof. It's like a slab of titanium, like that thick.
I don't know about that one.
I've
Well,
seen they've done videos of them shooting it,
fair enough.
which I think is pretty cool. So, like,
Yeah, I suppose.
bulletproof.
Metal
I
plate,
mean,
yeah.
like, I think, you know, if you shoot like a 50 cal at it, it's gonna go
Yeah,
through.
you shoot.
But definitely pistol rounds, and definitely the lower AR rounds. Pretty bulletproof.
Oh yeah, definitely lower caliber.
It's literally like a 1/4 inch titanium.
Oh yeah, then definitely lower caliber. That shit.
I mean, you've seen my leg, and you
off.
can straight up feel the difference between the bone and the plate, can't you?
I don't think I felt it
You'll have to
because I
feel it
think
next time.
when I saw you around about that time when all the leg shit was going on, I didn't want to feel it because you said you were still in a lot of fucking pain about it, and I thought the last thing he needs is me molesting his shin just to see what it feels like.
Next time I see you, remind me, and you can feel the difference. Like, obviously, if your tibia feels relatively like level coming through from the front round to the side. If you go onto my one, it's just like it starts off level, and then there's like a fucking step, like an actual step.
Yeah.
What did you want to say about the stinging thing?
Oh, okay. Yeah, this isn't actually a fear or anything of mine. This is just a funny story because stinging reminded me of it. So I was relatively young. I must have been about 6-ish, maybe. I think my sister was still sort of learning to walk. And we went down to the Chippy, which is just down the road in the village next to ours. We got some fish and chips, and I was on my bike, and I distinctly remember I was wearing a stormtrooper outfit. That's key to the story, right? Listeners, remember that. It's not actually key at all. The thing I remember about it is the front looked like a stormtrooper. The back was that thin kind of shitty black fabric.
Meshy black fabric.
Almost mesh.
Yeah.
Almost mesh. Yeah, it was mesh. I was riding along on my bike, and I'm pretty sure I had the mask on as well. I was going whole hog. I didn't care. I was like, fuck you, mum. I'm going out as a stormtrooper. We're getting fish and chips. I'm being a stormtrooper for it.
I'm getting laid today, mum.
So I was riding back. I was way ahead of my mum. And I decided instead of going on the path, because I had a mountain bike, fuck it. I'm going on the grass. I'm a big boy. So I decided to go on the grass. And I went down a hill. Now, it's not a very steep hill, but of course, me being a kid, I was pedaling to make it faster because I wanted to go first because I wanted to feel the wind in my hair. And all I remember is hearing my mum scream, "Ben, watch out," because I hadn't realised that in the grass was just this random fucking trough. That was so if my bike's coming down this way, the trough was angled like that, just underneath. So obviously, front wheel goes straight in, and I go arse over tit back first onto a bed of stinging nettles. And I was howling in pain. I was not happy about that. I was crying for the rest of the night. But fuck, looking back on it, it does crack me up because but you know. Stinging nettles as a kid used to not necessarily scare me, but I used to be really worried. I used to be really worried about how much they would hurt. And when my mate was just like, "Oh, I'm immune to stinging nettles," I was like, "What?" He was like, "Watch this," and he touched the top of it because I didn't realize that they only stung you on the sides and the bottom.
No,
so when he did that, I was like,
"It's the bottom that doesn't sting you."
Same shit either way. He touched the top, and I was like, "What the fuck? This madman's going to touch a stinging nettle? What?" And he did it. I was like, "Oh, holy shit!" A bed of what? A bed of stinging nettles.
I love you.
And yeah, that hurt like a cunt.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yes.
I remember being at it was like one of those big sort of country park things. Just one of the big public parks where they had like a little playground.
Yeah.
The rest of it was more or less just fucking fields with the odd bit of woodland or something. One of them, like not. And we used to go there a lot when I was younger. Meet up with a load of fucking other kids my age, and their mums would do their mum in the park. Me and one of my mates were climbing this tree. Fucking small at the time. He fell out of this tree into a huge patch of stinging nettles. And I mean, these fucking things were like 5-6 foot high, and he was wearing shorts and a t-shirt. And he fell straight into it, and it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And it came out
as a kid. Well, yeah, because as a kid, they sting like a motherfucker. And then as an adult, you're just like, oh, I think, boys, I've brushed a stinging nettle about 3 miles back.
Yeah.
I can just about feel a bit of tingling in my ankle,
It's
which
more
is
itchy
really
than
weird.
anything, isn't it?
Yeah, you can kind of feel it. You're like,
You ever had nettle tea?
was that? Oh, do you know what? I think I have once,
It's
and
surprisingly nice.
I just thought it tasted like green tea, and I was like, well, this is
Yeah, it's a bit of like
shit.
a bit like a tangy green tea, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but then as a kid, when I heard about nettle tea and nettle soup, I was like, well, aren't you going to get stung in your throat? I was a proper fucking mong as a kid.
Right, back on the topic of horror.
Sorry, yes.
After a 45-minute tangent, have you heard about the Amityville haunting? There's multiple films based on this.
So the name rings a bell, but I can't say I remember it specifically off the top of my head. So indulge me. What is said haunting?
I think most of it is based. Most of the things.
Sorry, can we just have unrelated note? Can we just have a big ups to Christoph in the chat? He's just come in and said, "Cheers from Germany. I'm drunk tonight."
Yes,
Big ups.
Christoph.
That's what we love to hear. More of that, lad. Sorry. Back to our regularly scheduled programming.
So I believe the Amityville horror is sort of what inspired The Conjuring. I want to say it's because it's based primarily around a house. And there was a film made in '79. There have been recent sort of redos of it.
Yeah.
The storyline is basically, I'm going to read the film plot because supposedly the the film plot is supposedly based off of actual found footage. Right, and that's always kind of one of those things you have to take with a grain of salt, obviously.
Yeah.
But the Amityville like haunting as a whole is relatively famous.
Sorry, I am still listening.
That's all good, mate. They move into a home in Amityville, blah blah blah, and then supposedly it was the history of the house. There was a guy shot and killed 6 people in his family, like fucking in the 70s. But the people still agreed to purchase the house. When they walk in, they find I think this part is probably upplayed for the film. They find the realtor dead. And then, they see like the movers falling down the stairs and dying. They stay moving in the house, and then essentially, the house seems to play up. There's like doors banging, shit like that. It's almost like Paranormal Activity. Did you ever watch those films before they got stupidly out of control with?
Do you know what?
Shit?
I think I watched Paranormal Activity 1 and 4, I want to say. I've got some interesting facts about Paranormal Activity, actually.
I remember Paranormal Activity started as literally just like night cams, didn't it? That's how it started, with like slightly freaky things happening, like towels falling off and stuff like that. Wasn't it by like the 3rd or 4th one? There was just fucking things poking their head against the camera, like, yeah! Do you know what I mean? It got progressively more far-fetched.
Yeah.
It's almost like that in the sense of that
almost like
kind of
Paranormal Activity
shit.
1 then.
Yeah.
Or
so they
Activity
install,
like 4, where it's just like attack.
Yeah, so supposedly the found footage is based off of the cameras that they then put up.
Yeah.
And it's something along the lines of like the daughter starts speaking to her imaginary friend. And then people like that are close to them start dying and stuff like that. And then, it kind of progresses on from there. I can't seem to find like the original oversight of it. Oh, there we go. The real Amityville. I mean, the house just does look spooky, but it does look like one of those old sort of American style houses from the sort of early 1900s, like the old sort of farm style houses that weren't in a farm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to subscribe to your fucking news.
No, but they'll try it.
So yeah, November 13th, 1974. State was the scene of a mass murder by Ronald J. DeFeo. Murdered his entire family while they was asleep, which included his parents and 4 siblings. And then, 13 months later, a family purchased it. And the price of it at the time was $80,000, $80,000 for a house, and it's quite a large house from what we know.
What year was this?
I mean, this was 75, but even at the time, that was considered cheap.
Yeah. Well, it's American, isn't it? Wait, is it American?
Yeah, it's American.
Yeah. Okay. Everything's fucking cheaper in America. It's fine.
So it says, okay, this is the list of things that they essentially experienced. The stepfather had a history of dabbling in the occult. I assume that's just down to himself being a weirdo, though. One of the sons was said to wake up every morning at 3:15 a.m. Every day, without fail, he'd wake up at 3:15 a.m., which was around the same time as Mr. Ron did the murders. Supposedly, there was like strange smells emanating around the house. Cold spots. I don't know if you've ever been somewhere that's supposedly haunted and experienced like walking through somewhere that's particularly cold.
No, but I've heard that is a relatively common thing. Yeah.
There are Chiselhurst Caves. Have you ever heard of them?
Yes, I've been there. Yeah.
I've been there. Yeah, yeah. Have you heard of the tunnel that they used to do? Like people could stay there overnight.
Yes, I think I did actually.
And no one ever made it through the entire time. They'd always give up. No, they never said that someone would die, but it was always we give up.
I didn't hear about that, but that's interesting.
If you do the tour, I don't know if you've done the actual tour of the caves because it's something that they tell you about, but they said they had to stop doing it because people were coming out like completely fucking petrified.
Do you know what? No, that wasn't a trip at our old school, was it? Because I could have sworn I've been there on like a school trip or some shit.
With my dad.
Oh right, I might have been there for like a birthday party or some shit.
I think they do shit like that, but it's I can't remember what the purpose of the caves were, but now obviously caves are relatively cold anyway. But there was just certain areas, and it was like the places where they were talking about it, and like all the lighting down there is very much just a couple of bulbs hanging across the ceilings. There was no vents or anything. You'd walk into like these areas, and it would be like before you go in there, they'd say like, this is sort of what's happened here. And then you'd go in there and it would just be like chills. It's fucking horrible.
Yeah.
And there's been places before that I've been to that have been like I don't know if it is a subconscious thing. You're like, this is meant to be scary. Make self scared, make shiver. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there was an old monastery by me, and I think we may have spoken about this before. I'm not going to say the name because of how close it is to me. But there was this old monastery, and it was never outrightly deemed as haunted. They've actually knocked it down now and built houses there. And from the experiences that I've had there would be no fucking chance that I moved into one of those houses. Not a fucking chance. It used to be the cool place to go when we were all younger, and like, sort of 7 or 8 years ago. It would be the cool place to go. You'd go there and just scare the shit out of yourselves because that place was fucking spooky. It had like a main building, and it had like 2 smaller buildings. And each smaller building was essentially just blocks, like accommodation blocks.
Yeah.
And by the time I ever went there, the main building had been burnt down. One of the fucking geezers, I think he was probably about my age when he did it, just essentially burnt the whole fucking place down, torched a lot. Because when people first realised, holy shit, this place is freaky as fuck, it had only been abandoned for like 20 odd years or so. And so all the mattresses were still on the beds. There was Bibles stacked up everywhere. Like all of the fucking paperwork and shit that they had was all still in the offices. The fucking freakiest shit. And there was always remains of it just scattered about. You'd occasionally find a Bible like laying about on the floor after it had all been trashed. It was one of those places. It sat in a hole, like in an opening in the woods. It was a pretty big opening, so it wasn't like it was shaded or anything like that. It sat more or less central. And the sunlight was always on it throughout the day. It was always sunny there. But as soon as you went within that circle, you just went cold. And it could be like the heat of a summer day, you'd just go cold. And it was one of those places, like we'd been there before. Midday time, there was no reason to be like scared of it. It was just a couple of abandoned buildings, essentially. We had been there, and this was before I even knew what it was. We went up there and we was like, let's just go and fucking have a look. And my mates knew what it was and hadn't really told me. Went in there and I went, what the fuck, this place is spooky. Like, it was weird because a lot of it had been vandalised, so like, there wasn't a single pane of glass left intact, things like that. But it was settled. Everything had a layer of dust over it. The way an abandoned place would that isn't touched, right? And it was really dark in all the rooms, despite all the rooms having like windows and stuff. There was, it was another one of those things that they had no reason to be like particularly abnormally dark. And just some of the rooms you went in were freezing cold. Like colder than the rest, and it made no sense as to why they were so cold. And it was one of those places you just go in, it was like, oh man, do you know what I mean? This is fucking horrible. And yet you'd go outside, you'd go into the woods, and the woods that was shaded and dark was warmer than that general area.
That's weird.
And it wasn't even like a breeze cold. It was like a frozen
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You know when you kind of shiver and you go, oh, someone's just trod on my grave. It was like that same sort of feeling that you get when you shiver.
Yeah.
And it was fucking horrible. It's one of those places where you just go there and it just gives you bad vibes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then and then like, I don't know what I believe in terms of haunting, but we've been there and we've scouted the whole place out before. And it's been me and my mates sat there, all of us, like, even if it was just 2 or 3, all sat there. We wandered around, done our thing. And we wandered out, and as we'd be walking out, you'd hear something get thrown across like the hallway, like something, like actually like a loud bang.
Yeah.
And it's like, what would even explain that? Because we had just walked through there. There was no one there. There was nothing going on in there, and you just hear something get thrown at the wall or some shit like that. Because it would be a pretty loud bang. Do you know what I mean? And we had seen things before. We'd all been in one building. You could sort of see across from the hallway of one building to the other building. And you just watch something sort of brush past through the corridor from one room to another. And it's like, there are no explanations for that. And it would be something that we all saw, but we'd already all been in that building. And we were all together. So it's not one of the others playing fucking, like, shitting on the other ones. Do you know what I mean? And so it was fucking bizarre.
Fucking weird.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm really upset that it's been knocked down now. Because I would have loved to have taken you there, sort of thing.
Oh yeah, could have made a great little YouTube series out of it.
I think someone I knew actually made a video of them walking around it. I think it's very badly filmed on an iPhone. If I can find it, I'll send it to you.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it was fucking crazy. Like, that place just gave you bad vibes. And it was one of those really weird ones as well. One of the buildings had a basement, and it was a basement that spanned the entire length of the building.
Never trust basements.
Right.
Basements.
But you couldn't even get down there because it was underneath. The entrance to it was in the kitchen. Right? And it was flooded all the way up to the entrance. I don't know how it flooded that bad.
Fucking hell.
But it was completely filled with water.
Jesus.
It's like,
that's some like it level shit.
Yeah, literally. And the whole place just gave you bad vibes. You know what I mean? It was cold. You'd see things, and whether it is just your mind playing up or not, but it was something like no one would even. We'd be talking, and then like say 2 of us are looking one way and the other person's looking the other way. The 2 of us would see something move across behind them, and we'd just go quiet like, the fuck. But you wouldn't say, "Did you see that?" It was like a stunned silence of like, what the actual fuck? Do you know what I mean? I find things like that fascinating, and I would love to go back there now if it hadn't been knocked down, and I'm really upset.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee, tell you for a fucking fact, there would be a 0% chance of me moving into one of the houses that's built on that land. Fucking 0% chance. Whether you believe in that shit or not, that place had fucking bad vibes.
Nah. See, we'd have to go there though, wouldn't we? Because we'd be making a nice little streamer house. You know, it would go for dirt cheap,
not there,
and we get some great content out of it.
But we also wouldn't sleep. But that was the thing. Like, you had like all of the metal bed frames in there. Do you know what I mean? From where they had the mattresses and stuff, it was just those classic metal bed frames, and it would be like we'd go in, we'd sort of do our bit, you know, maybe kick in a couple of glass windows ourselves, that sort of thing. And we'd all go into, you know, and then we'd all come back out. And as you come back out, you'd notice something like the bed had moved position or it had been flipped over.
Yeah.
And none of us had done it. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, fuck. That place just gave you bad fucking vibes. And then,
I mean, I like to imagine that there's just one crackhead who like lives around there and just knows he's like,
probably just
fuck with these
people.
kids.
Yeah.
But
100%.
at the same time, it's very unlikely.
Well, that's the thing. That's the fucking
you know,
thing.
arguably, it's more likely that there's some supernatural shit happening there than it is some little goblin running around and flipping over shit just for the shits and giggles.
Because like, there's no proof to it. It is basically everyone's word. And the thing was, it would be like you'd talk to someone that you'd never spoken to before about it that had also been there, and you'd have like very, very, very similar stories and experiences from it.
Yeah.
And it's just fucking bizarre. Do you know what I mean? And if I think of Haunted, I think back to that place.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know why. It just had bad fucking vibes.
Well, relating on haunted places, and this is one thing that I will never understand why she did this, but one of my exes, do you know where Barming is?
Yeah.
There's a mental institute at Barming where they used to just house insane people, like proper next level insane. And it got closed down. So it's abandoned now, and the police will occasionally come around. And one of my exes went there with her boyfriend at the time and a load of her mates, or his mates. And they all got fucked up. They smoked shitloads of weed, did a load of acid, and did a load of ecstasy. Now, I don't think I could ever hack. Well, I don't think I could ever hack doing acid at the best of times, let alone in an abandoned fucking mental institution in the middle of the night. That to me is completely booky. So I don't know how the fuck she ever did it.
There's a couple of places like that actually not too far away from us.
Probably not. Yeah, probably. I haven't really done much research into it.
Well, it was just like,
for
whatever reason, when we were younger, between at least my group of friends at the time, was just a cool thing to do. We just go to abandoned places, but it would always be the bookiest abandoned places. If it wasn't a monastery, it was like an abandoned hospital or asylum or things like that. Because there's actually a couple of places like that near us that are maybe only within like 20 minutes drive.
I used to like playing Call of Duty in my spare time, but you know, you do you.
I rode my bike and played COD. That was my limit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you rode your bike, played COD, and then went to some cracked out old fucking drug den, and then get scared shitless and come home.
I didn't do that very often. But back onto the topic of Amityville.
Yes, sorry. I'll let you talk. I'll let you talk for a minute because I've got to go and get another drink.
Okay.
Fucking out of coke.
You're all good,
One
mate.
sec.
So supposedly, when they eventually had a priest come and bless the house, and when he got there, he allegedly heard a voice screaming "Get out," and told the family to never sleep in that particular room, which is like, okay, you know, whatever. Other experiences were a nearby garage door opening and closing, an invisible spirit knocking a knife down in the kitchen, a pig-like creature with red eyes staring down at George and his son Daniel from a window, George waking up to wife Kathy levitating off her bed, sons Daniel and Christopher also levitating in their beds. Now, if you think back to like hauntings and stuff and like the films and things that people explain, the levitating parts I've never understood. Do you know what I mean? It's like I can kind of maybe picture someone staring in your window, and maybe see it as weird. The levitating part, I don't get. That shit just don't make sense to me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, how can you just? I don't care how fucking magical or how haunted it is. You can't just fucking magic some like 20 stone cunt out their bed. Do you know what I mean? Don't make sense, man. It actually just don't make sense. Like, physics doesn't work like that. It just seems fucking strange to me. So I think the validity of some of the stuff that they've said is questioned, and I will get to that part. But I don't know. What do you think about like blessing houses, Ben, from police? Priest, you're not religious, are you?
No, I'm not particularly religious.
Belief in the paranormal is thin.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically. It's an odd one because financially they have nothing to gain from it because they don't ask for money doing it, I don't believe.
No. Donate to our church's roof.
Donate to my McDonald's fund. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's almost tradition to a degree. Again, kind of linking back to witchcraft. I think there's still that almost suspicion or that fear of the unknown that people have, and they find safety in the faith that they already have. They find safety in believing in that faith to the point where they believe that faith will keep them safe, as it were.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily believe it does anything, but I do believe for the people that can believe in that, it will do something for their own mental state. Yeah. That's my opinion, at least.
So,
also, I do have a very quick story on hauntings, which I forgot to add. But okay, it's a really quick one. But when I remember this, and I just remember this going downstairs actually. When you come in my front door, I don't know if you remember my fucking house now. It's been a while. When you come in my door, you've got a hallway which extends that way. On this side, you have a bathroom, and on this side, you have the lounge.
Yeah.
I went in the bathroom, went to the toilet, and then as I was looking in the mirror, I must have gone into the bathroom for some other reason because I left the door open. I looked in the mirror, and behind me in the lounge was two blue glowing eyes. And it was middle of the night. My heart fucking stopped. I shat myself, spun round, nothing there. No blue LEDs from anything or anything. That creeped me the fuck out. And I don't really think too much about it now, but something about that is weird. And I've realized that I think arguably seeing something in a mirror is scarier than seeing it in front of you.
Yeah. Well, when I was a kid, and I'm talking like 3-ish, when we lived with my granddad in his old house, my mum and granddad had gone out for whatever reason. I was left with my dad. And we were in the front room, and the front room had a big set of like French doors, like the sliding French doors.
Yeah.
And pitch black, my dad and I were watching telly, and I was sort of just in I was old enough to obviously talk. I was 3, so I could formulate a sentence to some aspect of degree. And I was sat there looking out the window, and I was on the other end of the sofa to my old man, and my dad is a big believer in paranormal. As paranormal believers in it tend to believe that children and animals have a better sense of anything that is there.
I didn't know about children. I knew about animals. I know that a lot of people say animals have a better sense.
Which is why they say
about children.
Dogs bark at random shit. Do you know what I mean? Supposedly, children have a better sense of that as well, and are more likely to, if there is anything there, be able to see it or sense it or whatever. And I don't know what was on telly. I think it was something normal. But I was staring out of the window, and I was just talking.
Yeah,
just talking away like a kid does, but to no one. And my dad was like, "Who are you talking to?" I said, "Nanny." And both of my nans were dead before I was born, like a good few years before I was born. And there was no pictures of my dad's mum anywhere in the house because it was my mum's dad's house.
Yeah.
So there's no picture of her anywhere. I'd never seen a picture of her. And she had a desk that she sat behind a lot when she was alive, I can't remember exactly what it was now. But I, for a 3-year-old at least, explained in excruciating detail her sat there with her glasses, her hair, the clothes she was wearing, to my dad, despite never seeing a photo of her, and probably there not even being a photo of her sat where she had been sat, because it's sort of been known as her like private space. And I explained it in excruciating detail to my old man, and he shit his pants to the point that he called my mum and granddad up and made them come home because he couldn't fucking sit there being alone with me. But I remember there was like a couple of instances like that. I can't remember anymore. That was the only one that stands out. I'm sure when he comes on, he'll tell us about it. But,
but this isn't me trying to refute your claim.
No, go on.
But do you have any specific memory of that? Because I'd be very interested if that stuck in your head all these years.
I personally don't remember it.
Yeah.
I only ever remember the story that my dad has told me. And I remember him telling it to me when I was younger. And me kind of brushing it off, but he's since told it to me on multiple occasions, and every time it's been the exact same.
Yeah.
There's never been any falter. There's never been any sort of fluctuations in the story. It's always been the exact same story that he told me. And I don't know, like, I have no reason to disbelieve it, because supposedly it was me that was saying it all, but to me it was just like, it just seems strange, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? It was like,
well, yeah, of course it's strange. You've got a 3-year-old talking to your mum Where your mum
who had
has
been
been
dead for about
dead
10 years.
for
Well,
years.
she died when my dad was 20-ish. So yeah, about 10 years before I was born.
Yeah.
And there was no pictures of her. I'd never seen a picture. I was a child at the time. Like, it's not like, maybe now I'd make it up to fuck with him. Do you know what I mean? But like at the time, obviously that wasn't exactly what was going through my head, sort of thing. And
Okay, I take it back then. Kids and
chat
dogs.
chat says kids.
Yeah.
But like I remember that I seem to remember there being a couple of instances from what my dad told me where I'd been like talking to people and things like that, and it had been like then I described them in excruciating detail. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's like a lot for a like child to formulate. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, children can come up with a lot of shit in their imagination, but if it's something that was presumably with your dad retelling it, you were accurate to how she actually looked.
I've seen pictures of both my
insane.
nans now, and I still couldn't explain them to you because I've only seen pictures. You know what I mean? And I mean, there's pictures in the hallway, but it's not like I ever look at them. And like, without trying to sound nasty, I never met them, so it's not like I have any sort of emotional ties to their appearance or their voice or anything like that. So it's not like I could do it. I could explain how both my granddads looked because I knew them both incredibly well. I was both close to them. I was close to both of them and things like that. But even then, that memory sort of fades after a while, doesn't it? Like, my first granddad who passed, I can remember what he looks like, but to try and explain that is quite difficult. And like even the passing of my most recent granddad, I could explain what he looks like, but like even now, I struggle to kind of remember his voice, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I get. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah.
So it's a really bizarre thing. It really is. It's a very, very strange thing.
It's a bizarre thing because with things like that, not necessarily where's the cutoff point, but there must come a time in life where you almost lose that ability to be able to not necessarily sense that, but obviously kids do have. If what you're saying is true, then you would expect it to happen a lot more with adults as well, but it doesn't happen nearly as much, if at all, with adults.
But is that because the minds of an adult are very clouded? I mean, try and think back to before secondary school when you were classed as a proper kid, right? Can you think of a single time where you were stressed or panicking about something?
I was going to say 11 plus, but then I remembered I wasn't stressed about the 11 plus. My mum just made me work my ass off for it. I couldn't be asked to do it. I wasn't stressed about it. I was just sitting there like, oh, mum, stop.
Ultimately, your brain is incredibly raw. It's whatever's there is there. There's nothing really like pressuring issues or anything like that to worry about. Like I know right now, every minute of every day, there is some fucking millions of things whirling through my brain. Like, work, Charlie, work. Do you know what I mean? I can't imagine that's happening like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I can't remember a single time I was stressed. Not until like secondary school, at least.
Well, yeah, that was secondary school though. That was
exactly. I think it's to do with like your brain capacity because like I'd consider my brain pretty fucking full at the minute, and working overtime at the best of times. And as a child, you don't really have that, do you? So maybe it's just because your brain isn't necessarily clouded, you have the ability to see things more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then in the same vein, there could be the argument that obviously with the stress of education and getting a job and all that shit that comes with it, then maybe there is some validity to these old stories, as in from a while ago, of the paranormal.
Yeah, because maybe they weren't as stressed.
Yeah, maybe there wasn't so much going on in their life. Like, yeah, okay, you had to tend to the crops and all that shit, but I mean, once that was done, that's done.
Let's go back to the 1100s when society wasn't as it is now. There was a lot more in the way of you kind of looked out for yourself and your family. It wasn't necessarily stress related. It wasn't like you was worrying to pay bills as such or anything like that.
Yeah,
it was very much you lived your own life and that was it. Maybe the validity behind it is because your brain was less clouded. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that could be why more stories like that were way more common then than they are now. It 100%. Could be. I could just be looking into it way too much. You never know.
Well, it's like Drew's just said. Perhaps because of the way the world works and making you think in that kind of logistical way,
Yeah.
you are desensitized to anything that is seen as abnormal.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah,
whatever,
no, yeah.
it is what it is. It doesn't make sense. I'll put something that makes sense to it. Because obviously, even back 200 years ago, when science was nowhere near as developed and stuff, and something like this would happen, it wouldn't all of a sudden be loads of people trying to jump at it and pick holes in it. It would be people sitting there trying to understand it.
Yeah, and then the fear of not understanding it, and then, oh shit, it must be real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because there was no way to describe what had happened.
Yeah.
So wasn't it like now, if I sit there, right, and I'm laying in bed and I hear thud or a knocking noise or something like that, I'll just, in my head, a few situations will run through and I'll be like, okay, it's the boiler switching off. It's one of the pipes rattling. It's X, X, and Y. If you put
it doesn't
someone
immediately,
from 500 years ago in that position now, like even in a modern environment, they're going to be like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a witch.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, maybe it's desensitized is the word. Maybe it's to do with just lack of knowledge, potentially. There's a whole host of things that could be taken into account in regards to that. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it seems
that's why I like the old stories though, because they're so cracked out compared to the more modern day, where the more modern day has stuff that even now we can't explain. Yeah, stuff back then they had stuff they could explain, but that's why I like looking into them, because there is stuff that we can explain with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it could just be because we're so trained to look for an explanation in everything now that maybe we don't. Or maybe they didn't, sorry. Also, random side note fact, because Drew brought up logical and linear way of thinking, it reminded me of a fact I learned in biology, which I think is interesting. So obviously in the more first and second world countries, we live with very square houses, and, you know, roads have right angle corners sometimes, especially if you live in America, everything's just boxes because they can't deal with roundabouts for some reason. So everything's very square, everything's very linear, everything is very, you know, to a point. And if you go to, say, somewhere that's more rural, like an African tribe, effectively, where the majority of their houses are round, roads don't really exist, things like that, the corners don't really exist, there's an odd parallel you can draw between it, because if you show someone from a tribe in Africa an illusion, or so, like, there's illusions that come online, it's like which circle is bigger, like the orange circles, and one looks bigger to your eye, when in reality, when they take away the circles around it, it looks exactly the same. If you give that same thing to someone in Africa, they are exactly, like, they know they are exactly the same. Somehow, because of that, they are not fooled by the fact that they're the same size. So, like, two lines with arrows pointing in different ways and stuff like that. We'll see it as one line's longer. They'll see it as, well, it's exactly the same. This isn't fun. Go away.
Yeah.
I need to go and get some water, kind of thing. I need to go and get some fucking food. Leave me alone. I think that's really cool. But then I'm a massive nerd, and that's nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Do you think
that the linear outlet?
Yeah, I don't know. I get that. As someone who did paranormal work, people are so skeptical, even if you have absolute proof.
People are skeptical.
Wait, so do you have stories, Heather? Should we get Heather in a call?
Let's
Heather,
get
can you
hop?
Heather, can you hop in a call? We get you in a call. I would be really interested to get the insight of someone who has, like, experience in the actual paranormal work side of it.
Honestly, so would I. I think she said she's at work, sadly, but
Heather,
if you get a free
it's like 4 p.m. for you. You can
if you get a free, no, Heather, just do one. Just hop on a call while you're at work.
I'm at work. Just do it. Come on. What time do you finish?
I did for 3 years. Holy shit. All right. Yeah. Heather, new guest.
Yeah.
I want to hear about this shit. Because I want to hear about this, because everything you see on TV is potentially just dramatized and shit for views, which I completely understand.
100%.
But I think if you have a more personal account to it, that makes it way more interesting. Because when I hear about shit online, I'm just like, I don't know if I believe that. But when I hear like your stories about more personal shit,
Yeah.
it seems way more believable and has an actual air of validity to it, rather than just some twat going into a house and going, "Oh, it's a bit scary here. I think I'm going to leave and call it haunted."
Heather, what are you doing on Friday?
It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Can we get you as a guest speaker on Friday? I can clip out the shit out of that one, boy. Picture me
Yeah.
doing investing. I'll put them in Discord. Nice.
No, we need
no,
first-hand accounts.
Yeah, we
you
want
need
first-hand
to turn
accounts.
up.
If you can do Friday, same time, we'll get you in a call on Friday. If not, do you reckon you could do Saturday, Ben?
Yeah, I could probably do Saturday.
Friday or
Sounds like it's time
Saturday,
for a
Heather?
lunch break. Thursday, I'm off. Ooh.
What about Saturday? Thursday, can you do tomorrow?
Yeah, I could probably do tomorrow, to be fair.
What's tomorrow?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm with Ash tomorrow.
Oh, shit, yeah.
That's fine. She can do Thursday or Saturday. Do you want to do Saturday? We'll put Friday off till Saturday.
Yeah, we'll put Friday off till Saturday. We'll get Heather in for a proper one-on-one.
I'm going to give Heather the beers and bullshit roll right now. Heather, put something in Discord. Make my life easy. There we go.
Now she's at work.
Heather. Add. Beers and bullshit. She's got the roll.
Brilliant.
All right.
I also
guest speaker on Saturday.
Yeah, 100%. I also have a side note, by the way.
Cool.
I would like to do an episode on things like Jonestown, because you brought up the fact that the Amnesty House or whatever, there were murders there, and that reminded me of Jonestown, because I think Jonestown is really interesting from a psychological point of view.
Talk about it. Let's go.
So, I mean, I'll give a brief rundown. Jonestown was a remote settlement in Guyana.
Jonestown.
Can't pronounce that.
Guyana or Ghana?
You're asking the wrong person.
Spelled?
I didn't do geography for GCSE. Guyana. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Go on.
But basically, there was one bloke or a few people that managed to convince a lot of, I think it was specifically Americans, to move to Jonestown in this tiny little place. And sorry, I'm just going to try and quickly read it. Guyana, yeah. Someone said Guana, yeah. So basically, he was a cult leader, and he moved all of these people in believing, I'm not entirely sure why, I'd love to do some more research on it, but in total, 909 individuals died in Jonestown, all but 2 from apparent cyanide poisoning, in an event termed revolutionary suicide. So in other words, they deliberately made people drink.
Is that the Kool-Aid thing?
I think so, yeah. I think it was Kool-Aid poisoned with cyanide.
Did we do that in school? I swear we did that in RS at school. Because I don't know where else I would have done the Kool-Aid story. Is it Jonestown?
I think it was Kool-Aid. I think it was. But either way, yeah, they made the women and children drink it first, and they made everyone drink it.
Yeah, it was the Jonestown Kool-Aid thing. They started a cult, didn't they, and convinced everyone to drink this Kool-Aid that killed them.
Yeah. I think that from a psychological point of view, I'd love to know the reasoning behind all of that and everything else that goes on, because I think that's fucking interesting.
Yeah, I think that's fucking... Because that was the first mass suicide, wasn't it?
I'm not entirely sure if it was the first, but it was definitely one of them.
Well, it was one of the most famous mass suicides, to my knowledge, isn't it?
There's another one that happened in America, I think in San Francisco, with a load of people believing that aliens existed, and the only way to reach the aliens, which was effectively reaching God, as it were, was to kill yourself. And loads of people died in the same house. And I'll try and find it, because I did some searching on it before. And yeah, loads of people committed suicide in the same house. I'm not entirely sure by what means, but I distinctly remember, I think it was one of the neighbors just had this foul stench of death. And they were just like, something's not right here. They called the police, and sure enough,
Jim Jones in Jonestown. That was the name of the geezer that led the cult.
Leadership, Jim Jones, yeah. That'd be the one.
I can't remember why he fucking did it. Fuck. I can't remember.
No, but that's what I
we
mean.
definitely did it at school.
I think
we
we
covered it at school.
I think we must have done it. These cults were actually called sects. No, too bad. I'm calling them cults.
Cults just has more of a ring to it.
More of a devious connotation, and I prefer the word.
So I specifically remember doing that at school. With
maybe we did.
What was the walkover RS teacher called? The woman one.
The woman one?
The really weird woman one.
The one who was the one with short hair.
Tutor, I want to say
that was Mr. Smith.
Nah,
he was an absolute geezer. I loved him.
The woman one with the short hair.
Oh, Miss Jane, maybe.
That was it. Yeah, I remember her specifically doing it.
Fucking hated her.
She was a bitch. But I remember her talking to us about it.
Yeah. Well, either way, I would love to do an episode on shit like that because I love that. Okay. And if there's any interest for listeners, then leave a comment or sling it in the Discord because that's something I would love to do.
Right. I need to say that. I think Friday, Heather, you have access to exclusive channel now. If I at you, this is exclusive channel for beers and bullshit topics. I would love to do something along those lines in regards to Heather getting the first-hand experiences because I genuinely think that'd be fascinating because obviously, like you said, it's one thing to hear it from a story and another thing to hear it from someone who's experienced it firsthand from the work side of things. Because like when you think about a paranormal investigator, right? I don't know about you, but what I think is with those little fucking beeping machines. I've just pulled the handle off my chair.
Yeah, the little like EMF readers, the electromagnetic flux readers. Yeah.
And what's the truth behind them? Do you know what I mean? Someone who's worked in it can give us the real lowdown.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly.
Cool. I didn't know that. Why have you never told me? What the fuck?
They can. Well, Heather can tell us specifically when it comes to TV shows. Is that all dramatized, or is there at the very least some semblance of truth to it? And that kind of thing, I would love to know.
Yeah, I think that'd be fascinating.
Hannah, while I appreciate the messages, please save it for when we're actually doing the topic, because no doubt we'll just miss out crucial bits of information and go on tangents about nettles and some shit again. So you've got to keep us on topic because we won't. We fucking definitely won't.
That's something else, but my brain's fucking fried because you said that now. See, this is what happens. This is why we can't do anything nice.
Yeah, this is why we'll set a topic, we'll go on about it, and it will just go. It will just go. Heaven's Gate. That's the fucking what? How did you learn about all this shit? Why didn't I do sociology? I would have loved to have done this shit. I would have got an A in it.
Wait, that was a sociology topic.
Allegedly, it was.
UFOs were.
What, Heaven's Gate?
Yeah, what's Heaven's Gate?
Heaven's Gate is the one I'm talking about with them believing in aliens and believing that aliens were like their key to freedom.
Strange.
Yeah, it is weird. But there's still videos online of the Heaven's Gate leader. He still exists. He's still kicking about. Well, I don't know if actually no, he might be dead now, but there's videos of what he's sent to people to try and get them involved in the sect, apparently.
Right. How strange.
No, I find this stuff fascinating because just from a psychology point of view, I think it's amazing that someone can be that charismatic, I suppose, to actually get involved in something like that.
Yeah,
believe it so much.
It really is strange, isn't
it? Go to the ends of the earth for it, kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's insane.
How bizarre! Bizarre. You got anything else to add to horror, Ben?
Unless we want to go into common fears.
Mate. Yeah.
I'm not sure if fears really fall under horror, but I suppose we can talk about them.
Would you have any sort of paranormal experiences or ghost stories?
Not. I'm trying to think, but not particularly. I mean, there are times where there was one time. So, band practice with the small little shit band I was at when we were at school. We had initiation. If you wanted to be part of the band, you have to go to Barming Woods. There's a sink in the middle of Barming Woods, which is allegedly haunted by Peter Finch. It's a long story. There is a sink in there, and you have to take a piss in the sink. If you can't piss, you're not in the band. That's it. You have to piss in the sink. And we took pictures while we were there, and in multiple pictures, it looked as though there were faces hiding in the bushes.
Really?
And we didn't look at the pictures until we got back. And when we looked at them, we were like, fuck, that's spooky. Because nobody else goes there. And it is right next to the mental asylum. But I'm not really sure. That probably doesn't really count as a paranormal thing. But that was just a weird
No, it is.
thing.
It is. So on that topic, have you heard of like orbs? Like taking pictures of like a dark garden or something, and you'll see like it's almost like a bright light that kind of flashes, but it's got like a trail behind it. It looks kind of almost like a shooting star in your picture, but it's quite big.
Okay, I haven't heard of it, but okay.
Supposedly there's some sort of spirits. And the garden where my dad lives, he's taken a lot of pictures in the gardens before, where he's had these orbs coming across the photos. Like I said, my dad's really into sort of paranormal kind of stuff, blah, 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 blah. And there's been so many occasions where you could just see them flying across, and who knows what they mean. But have I ever shown you the picture of when I was at RAF Holton on Carder?
Yes, you fucking have.
Picture,
and that's fucking creepy.
It's the strangest fucking thing.
It's
right?
so creepy.
It's on my Snapchat memories somewhere, bro. It was when I was staffing a Carder, right? So basically, bro, I've got to find this now because I'll be able to show this one on screen. It was in February, probably 2017, I'm going to say.
Anyway, well, whilst he finds... Oh, no. Okay, you got
it. I'm gonna save it and send it to you in Discord, so I can pull it up on screen.
All right.
So...
This is too much for my current state. Just have a brewski. Calm down. You'll be cooking. And if you don't believe in this shit by the end of this podcast, then we've failed as content creators.
Right, I'm gonna put this in here. Okay, so I've put it in the group section in the channel in the actual fucking thing. So
this.
I want you to look at this photo. Yeah. Okay, look at this photo. Right, I was chatting up a bird at this point in time. It was when I was talking to one of my exes. Okay, and we was talking on Snapchat, and I took a picture. I was at that point in time because I was staffing it. I'd been invited to help with the staff. I was kiss up at that point in my life, and I went and did. So I went and was helping some of the people that hadn't done the course yet and stuff like that. So I was one of the few people that was allowed my phone, and I was chatting up this bird as I was doing it, and I took this photo behind me on Snapchat to reply. And as I'm typing it, look at that, bro. I don't think I might be able to zoom in. Yeah, okay, here we are. This will full screen it. Look at that face in the background. Right?
Yeah.
Tell me that isn't a face, okay? So, the story behind this RAF base is essentially, around the time of World War II, it was there was a squad of paratroopers that was basically working from this RAF base, or something like that, and they wore maroon berets. If you look, I'm gonna have to fucking open it back up in web browser. If you look at this photo...
Just click open original.
Yeah. You can see, like, look at this, okay? That there looks like maroon beret, right? This is as much as I can zoom in unless there's another button I can press, Ben.
Hit control and scroll the mouse wheel up.
Oh, yeah. How do I... Oh, okay. So, right, I just want to zoom in, okay? So, this looks like a maroon beret to me, okay? And then, like, the general sort of outline of a face... And then what looks like some sort of number one dress. Now, number one dress in UK military is like smart dress, like suits and stuff, what you'd see military wearing on parades. You can sort of see like a outline of a collar there, and this looks like the general sort of outline of a neck and face type thing, and then the beret. Now, I took this photo and fucking shit my pants, right? Because I took it, and as I'm typing it, I saw that and saved it, and I was like, there's no fucking shot I'm looking at this while I'm sat in front of the window. And so I turned around and looked out the window and didn't see anything there. I was like, okay, interesting. And then because of that, I kind of just played it off and the geezer that I was teaching at the time was even fucking younger than I was. I didn't want to show him it to freak him out. So when he left, one of the officers came in and I was like, "You're right, Charlie." I was like, "Yes, mate. Yeah, blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Do you know much about this base?" I was like, "Yeah, I've worked here for a long time." I was like, "Can you just have a look at this?" I showed them the photo and they was like, "What am I looking at?" I was like, "Look at the window." And they went, "Holy shit. How fucking strange." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Is there anything in regards to this photo that you might be able to tell me?" And they said to me exactly what I thought. It looks like maroon beret, face and number 1 dress. And it looks like, you can sort of, I mean, I don't know if this is maybe me looking into it too much here. Looks sort of like an eye cavity, the general shape of a nose. But it was like frosted glass anyway. So however you look at it, it's always going to look strange. But like you look at it from afar, look at that, bro. And like it was pitch black outside. It was absolutely pitch black outside. There was no way anything could have come up or anything like that. It seemed fucking bizarre. There was no reason it should have made that much, like, looked that clear.
Well, I think it's also worth pointing out that presumably at that point in time, or at that point in the night, no one would have been allowed to just go and wander around the barracks and shit.
Well, it was an RAF base for starters, so everyone wore, like, deep navy berets. There was no one on site that would have been wearing a maroon beret. Also, RAF number 1s are blue. They're not, like, tan/green type colour. Because if you look at that, they're kind of like an olive colour. And they're like very old style because they look pretty olive coloured in that. Whereas if you go back and look at the like number 1 dress from sort of World War II time, it was more of like a deep green type thing. Oh no, nowadays it's like a deep green type thing. Back then it was sort of more like olivey. And it was like, what the fuck? Do you know what I mean? Couldn't figure out why it made that much sense. And why it looked that clear, because that is a pretty clear outline of a person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those windows, because the building was raised up like a foot or so, when you looked in through those windows, that would have been about the same height as an average man looking through that window. Which was just fucking crazy to me. It was so fucking crazy to me. I did not sleep that night.
I'm back. What did I just miss?
That night. Heather,
you just missed some beautiful shit.
Explain this, right? Been mentioned. Let me bring this up for you, Heather. I want you to look at this photo. Okay, I'll zoom it in a bit. I want you to look at this photo. Tell me what you see. Tell me if you see anything fucking strange here. As someone with experience. So, tell me if you see anything.
Yeah.
Because this was on an RAF base 4 years ago now.
God,
fuck, I was 16 when this happened.
Yeah. I was about to say, fuck, it feels ages ago now. I'm getting old.
Yeah, you and me both, mate. You and me both. Fucking wild times. Absolutely fucking wild times.
Well, gets worse when you turn 21.
So she can see it in Discord. So, but like anyone else that's in chat, like, are you agreeing with me here in what we're looking at?
Well, I think Els definitely agree with you. The poor man's not going to sleep tonight because of it.
But do you know what I mean? Do you remember me showing you that?
Yeah,
and
genuinely.
You know Freddie, don't you?
As fucking.
You know my pal Fred, right?
Oh, wait, which Freddie? Tall Freddie or short Freddie? Short Fred. Young Freddie?
Yeah, yes. Fred that lives near me. Yeah.
Yep.
I remember, right, he was staying at my house once and my mum was away. And this is when I smoked and it was fucking freezing. You remember when I used to smoke at the back door? I'd just stand inside the door with the door open like...
Yeah.
My mum was out and we were stood at the back door. It wasn't windy. It was a pretty normal, like, standard night. I was stood at the back door with a fucking fag. He was sat on the countertop next to me and we was chatting away. And I was talking to him about this. And I showed him the photo. And as I showed him the photo, there's a calendar. And it's still there. It's a different calendar, obviously. It's like a few years ago. It's now irrelevant. But I was stood at the back door. There was no wind, nothing. I was talking. I showed him that photo, right? And then the calendar at the other end of the kitchen was on like a stick-on hook. And now these stick-on hooks are like the fucking really strong 3M tape. And it was attached to like a really strong, like it had no reason to fall off. It had been there ages. Literally got ripped off. Just out of nowhere. The calendar ended up across the other side of the floor. and the hook was just in the hallway somewhere. And it was just like, what the fuck? Because when that happened, it made a really loud noise as it hit the floor, or like a relatively loud noise in a quiet room. I slammed the door shut, threw myself to the ground with the fag hanging out my mouth, like, what the fuck? And I'm pretty sure if I spoke to Fred about that, he'd definitely remember still.
Oh yeah,
but it was.
Shit like that,
I just remember that happening, and us both looking up at each other like, what the fuck? Like shit my fucking pants, mate.
Well, you've got some. I remember that until recently, you haven't been a fan of your living room, have you?
No, living room freaks me the fuck out, mate.
Yeah,
living room. There's no reason, because the living room is like really, really cold. Like even when the rest of the house is hot, the living room is freezing. And I mean, it is always cold, and it always feels like someone's watching you in there. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I'll be honest. I don't want to sound like a dick saying this, but they're almost like when I came over to yours relatively recently, and we sat in there. I think your mum was in there as well.
Yeah.
It could be because I've not really spent much time in there. Something about it did feel a little bit unnerving.
I mean, you've never even spent an extensive period of time in there, have you? You've only ever been in there for maybe 10 or 15 minutes at a time.
Because the only time I've been in there was that time, because before that, you were saying that you were booked out by it, and I've only ever seen the damn room.
Because this room that I'm in now used to be kind of not a front room, but some variation of a front room.
Yeah.
We'd have like the posh front room, and then we'd have what we called the playroom, which was the front room that actually got used. That room was only used if we had guests, because it was so cold in there. And when my dad still lived here, my mum would occasionally sit in there, but never a lot, because it's always just had that weird vibe about it. Do you know what I mean? I remember once my dad was watching something in here and I wanted to watch something different, so I sat in the other room. And I think my mum was in there talking to me at the time. And it was pretty chilled out, whatever. Like, we was just sit there having a chat, had the telly on. And then all of a sudden, it's got like French doors on it, like the open out French doors, going onto the patio. One of the panes on the inside of the doors just shattered. And it was
fucking weird.
A pretty ambient temperature. It wasn't like it was hot inside and freezing cold outside. It wasn't like it was hot outside and freezing cold inside. There was no reason that temperature would have done it. And there was no way that anything could have flicked up and done it, because my mum and I was sat down indoors. But it looked like there was like it came out from a point. Do you know what I mean? And there is something about that room that freaks me out even now. Like I hate having the door to that room open, because it's always dark in there and you can never see anything. And when the door to it is opposite the door to the bathroom. So when I go in and brush my teeth at 4:00 every fucking morning as I'm going to sleep, I actually shut the door to the bathroom behind me so that I don't have to look in the mirror back into the living room. Because that room freaks me out so much.
Mirrors are fucking creepy. There's something about them.
But
I don't
know what it is. That room just freaks me the fuck out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is something about it.
If you've had an experience where you've sat there, done naff all, and the glass has just decided to just do one, I wouldn't be too happy in that room either.
But when I was redecorating in here a couple of months ago, I had to stay in there. Like, I basically dragged my mattress in there and just slept on the floor in there, because I was redecorating in here, blah, 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 blah. And it was some of the worst fucking night's sleep I've ever fucking had. And I've slept in some uncomfortable places. It's not because I was uncomfortable. It was just, I would lay there and I always felt like there was someone else in the room with me. Do you know what I mean?
See, the logical side, again, this goes back to Drew's comment earlier. The logical and linear side says that's because your brain has conditioned you to be wary of that room. So you are always on high alert whenever you're in that room.
I know you don't even believe in it, but next time you come around, I'll put you in there for a little while. Just see what you think.
I don't think I will. I'm scared
the thing
now.
is, it's not like I've ever gone in there and anything malicious has happened. The only time...
No, it's just unnerving.
The only time that anything weird happened was the pane of glass, and I was watching telly in there once, and we have like a gas fire in there.
Yes.
Like it's like an actual fireplace. It's got like coal in it, but it is a gas fire. And obviously with that, it needs a vent out the top to let the heat out. And my mum likes her fancy ornaments, and it's not like the fucking house is covered in them, but she had like a wooden box that was sat on top of the fire. And if you wanted to light the fire, you'd move the box because obviously hot air comes out of the top. And me being a kid didn't remove the box. And the box slowly started to get hotter and hotter and hotter until it started to basically burn. And it burnt a hole in the middle of the box as it was slowly catching a light. There was no like actual flame on it. It was just the sheer heat of the fire on the bottom of the box. And it was smoking out the entire room. And it was smoking out the corridor. And the entire house was just slowly filling with smoke. And I was sat there and didn't even notice, right? Bearing in mind, I'm sat in a room full of smoke.
Yeah.
And after about, I don't know how long it had been, because I didn't even notice it at first, I realised, oh, the television's getting hard to see. I was like, why is that? I was like, wait, it's kind of smoke in here. I smell burning. But this had been going on for ages because the whole house had filled with smoke, right?
Oh, fucking hell. Right.
And I literally stood up, opened the window, picked up this box, and this box was scalding hot because it was like wood, but it had sort of like a plastic veneer over it, kind of thing. You know, like
so it was melting.
So it was essentially melting as well. Yeah. And I picked it up and went fuck and dropped it, and then my parents ran in, swiftly realizing as well that the house was filling up with smoke. But what the fuck? But it was like, you know, you'd normally know if you're sat in a room that's started, like, even if I sit in here and I've been vaping particularly a lot and the PC's not running or it's cold in here, so the smoke sort of stays in it. You notice, do you know what I mean? You notice when the kind of hotbox in the room. And like, I didn't even notice for fuck knows how long. And it was just like, how the fuck do you not notice that sort of shit? It almost felt like I was in a trance.
Yeah.
It was fucking strange. But I hate that room. We've only recently started using it because when I changed this to my room, my granddad lived here. So my mum would go and sit in with my granddad. And since he passed, she's been sitting in there. Because obviously, what's the point in going outside and sitting in the annex when she's got no one to sit with? It feels a bit morbid, if anything.
Yeah.
So she sits in there. But after like 9-10 o'clock, she goes up to bed anyway. So it's not like she's ever here for the the weird stuff that happens at night.
Yeah, but do you think in a really odd way, in a way that I don't think anyone will ever specifically realize themselves, do you think in some way that she feels closer to him if there is paranormal shit happening there because of the dead? Do you think in some ways there's some sort of what's the word? It's a really fancy word. Do you think there's some sort of pull to that room? If there is something going on because of someone who has died, do you think that there's some sort of thing in the back of her mind that's making her think, I want to be in this room because in some ways I'm closer to him? Or do you think it's literally just an escape?
I think it's just an escape because, like,
no, fair enough.
It took her a week or two to be able to bring herself to go into his annex. The day he passed, I went in there myself and sat in there on my own. I took his clock and I stopped the clock, rewound, like put it back. I went in there like an hour after and I put it back to the time that he died. I went in there and sat in there on my own, and it felt really shitty, obviously, because, like, you know, it was where I associated him being. But it didn't feel like haunted or weird or anything. I did half expect him to like stand up off the fucking toilet and go, "You're right, Char." But it wasn't to do with that. And I just don't think she could bring herself to go in there and face it because he had left to go to the hospital 2 weeks prior and nothing had changed in there since. So it was almost like time completely stood still. But he never spent time indoors. Like when he when he moved from in here to the annex once that was built, he seldom came back inside. And if he did, it was to sit around the table with us because it was just too difficult to get him from in there into in here.
Yeah.
So he'd sit at the table with us or whatever, and that was more or less it.
Yeah.
And I don't know because my mum and my dad have both said that they felt it in there as well. Like it's not just me tripping. Do you know what I mean? Everyone that goes in that room always says it's cold and always says it feels weird. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I brush my teeth, if I brush my teeth and I don't shut the door, I sit on the bath so I can see out the corner of my eye the entrance to the front room, and I can see out the corner of my eye the mirror as well. Like I will never position it with my back to that door if I can't see it. And I don't know why, because I'm the ripe old age of 20. I've nothing to be scared of.
Lucky you fucking bellend.
It freaks me the
20.
fuck out. Do you know what I mean? It literally freaks me the fuck out. I've lived here for like fucking 10, 15 years now. Lived here a long time. And that room, ever since I've lived there, has always had it out for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not like anything malicious has ever happened. And the only other thing that I can think of that might be tied to the front room was the calendar, because the calendar is maybe a meter away to the entrance to the front room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just
it's not malicious. It's just some unnerving presence, I suppose, is the best way of putting it.
And it was really fucking strange.
Oh yeah,
do you know what
definitely.
I mean?
It's strange, but I love talking about it because this isn't something that I've had a lot of experience in. So when I say I don't necessarily believe in the paranormal, it's
maybe
not.
You've just not had the experience.
It's not to say that it doesn't necessarily. It's a bit like not believing in God. It's like I used to say, "Oh, I'm atheist because God's a load of shit," but now I say I'm agnostic because I can't prove God. I can't disprove God. It's kind of the same theory with the paranormal, where I've never had enough experiences per se myself to fully say, "Yep, no, I agree with it. I think there's something else there." But I haven't necessarily had an experience to say, no, it's definitely not there, especially when other people like yourself turn around and say, I've had these experiences, they have happened, they've been backed up by other people who have seen the fucking thing happen, and there's not necessarily a logical explanation to decipher why it's happened.
At some point, I'll get you round and you can sit in the front room with me for a little while. Right, you'll see what I mean. It just always feels like there's someone there.
Yeah.
Like it really, really does. I always expect to turn around, like come out of the bathroom, there'll just be someone stood in the doorway because it has that kind of vibe to it. You know what I mean? And the thing is, it's not an old-fashioned room. It's a room, it's a little room, maybe about twice the size of this, with 2 sofas, a telly, a mirror, a fireplace. Very, very sort of normal room within the last sort of 10, 15 years. To my knowledge, there's no weird history to the house. Like, do you know what I mean? Because before we owned this, Lewis had this house. Lewis and his family lived in this house.
Oh shit, I didn't realise that.
And that was their front room as well, but they actually fucking used it. But it's just one of those really weird like rooms where you just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's really, really, really strange. Really fucking strange. Like, what are your thoughts on things like Ouija boards?
I think I don't know. I don't necessarily believe in Ouija boards. I think I can see the appeal of it if you want an adrenaline rush, but personally I don't believe in it. Now, if you're now to ask me, would I happily sit here and fuck about with one? No, because there's something innately fucking creepy about them. So I suppose that, to a degree, because I have that innate fear of, what if something were to happen, then I suppose to a degree I do believe in them.
Yeah, Night L. I've never used one. There is a big part of me that has the burning desire to use one.
Yeah.
But I know it would freak me the fuck out.
Yeah, because that would almost be validation for how you feel. At least in this point,
You know
there
what I
are
mean?
times where you might feel a bit booky and you can think, oh, I'm not going to worry about it. The majority is in my mind. It's fine. If you get some validation of that moving, yeah.
But I know people that have done them before and have had horrific experiences with them. They've done it, and then all of a sudden, for like a week, they've been incredibly ill, or like something has happened. My dad did one when he was younger in like the loft of their house, and because I spoke to him about it once. We've had like a lot of conversations in regards to paranormal and things like Ouija boards and stuff. And I remember bringing it up to him once, and I said, I'd quite like to do one of them one day. He went, don't fucking do it. Don't fucking touch it. There are very few things that my dad says to me, don't do. And I genuinely think if nothing else killed me, that fucker would kill me for touching a Ouija board. You know what I mean? But it still doesn't, it still doesn't make me want to do it any less. Like, if you put it in front of me and said, do it with me, I'd be like, yeah, right then. Do you know what I mean? I would shit my pants doing it, but I would definitely do it because I know I shouldn't, but you know, curiosity killed the cat. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And
it's human nature, you know.
There's so much like stigma around them almost of don't fucking do it unless you know how to touch it. And I'm just like, I want to do it. Do you know what I mean? I want to fucking do it. And
so do you think you would ever get, I suppose, I'm not sure if professional is the right word, but I'm going to use it anyway. Would you ever get someone in to not necessarily cleanse the room, but I can't think of a better word for it. Do you think that would ever be something that would cross your mind, or would you rather keep it as it is and almost accept the fact that it's unnerving, but you're going to roll with it kind of thing?
I don't know if I believe in spiritual cleansing. I don't really believe in like the idea of burning sage or like blessing a room because I'm not religious. Do you know what I mean? I don't believe in I don't believe in God, and the idea of a room cleansing is more along the lines of a religious side of things. You know what I mean? The belief that I have here is more unsettled spirits and stuff, as opposed to along the lines of like a priest coming in and blessing the room. And I know there are other forms to it, but I've always tied that to me personally more as like a religious type thing. I know not necessarily all of it is. But I've also never had a malicious experience in there.
That's true, yeah.
So the fear of it is more the fear of the fact that it's just has strange vibes as opposed to the fact that I think I'm going to fucking start floating while I'm sat in there. Do you know what I mean? Which is the weird part. And it's not like it's the whole house that's fucking booky either. It's that one room.
Yeah, yeah. You want some bloke coming in, swinging out. Oh, what's that? I always forget the name of this thing. You know, the priests use them. It's like almost ball with holes in it, with some essence in it or some fragrance of some sort. They have it on a chain and they swing it around and they start singing some shit.
I know. Yeah, I know.
What's that called? What's that fucking called?
It's almost like a mace, isn't it? Ben, we've got
basically
£5 tip from the Big Mac giver saying
it's a nice smelling
Big Mac.
Wait, what?
Got a £5 tip saying give Ben Big Macs.
Who sent
I'm going to assume it's Alpha.
Alpha, you bastard.
I'm just going
Thank
to pay
you very
at
much.
the end of the month.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Alfie,
when all my money comes in, I'll do it then.
You can expect your Big Mac pictures soon. I will buy multiple just for this. And then I'll send you a picture of after I've eaten them all and how I feel horrific about myself.
Why did I eat 5 Big Macs? I feel bad now. I don't know. Like, I would be really, really like... I would be more interested in getting someone who knows how to deal with a Ouija board in and doing one with me than I would be in getting someone to come in and cleanse it.
Sensor. That's what it's called. Sorry.
Okay.
Carry on.
But I'd be more interested in someone coming in and doing a Ouija board with me that knows how to use it than having someone come in and cleanse the room.
Yeah. I think one almost brief thought on a Ouija board is obviously you have to trust that. I mean, you see it in film. you see it in films all the time, but yeah, you have to trust that whoever you're doing with isn't just fucking with you.
Yeah.
Because you can turn around and say, "Oh, did you move that?" And of course they're going to say no.
Yeah.
But
and that's the thing, because like the bit I never understood was why you have to touch the lens for it to be able to move.
yes,
You know
yeah,
what I mean? I need to cleanse after the board. Just saying, it's not something I'm probably actually going to do, because I'd probably scare the shit out of myself. But like in terms of the bit I never understood, I don't know if Heather can maybe clear that up for us, is why you need to be touching the lens for it to actually move, when in reality, theoretically, it's not you moving it.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because if it's a spirit that has control and they're doing the moving, and
True.
theoretically
I mean,
your hands are just following it, I never understood why your hands need to be touching it.
It almost could be because you're trying to channel the spirit through a physical being so that the physical being can move it, but then arguably the physical being can also move a calendar and a hook off of some strong ass fucking grip and onto a floor. So,
Yeah.
But we'll wait about that. Come play Phasmophobia with me, guys. Alfie says we should play Phasmophobia.
Phas is a game.
It's a fucking Unity asset flip, and I stand by that. I refuse to spend money on that game when it was made in about 5 minutes. You're placing your intent into that object.
So
yeah,
is
okay,
intent like a spiritual thing or what? Like I don't know. I'm not particularly clued up into. I want to get anal fucked by a spirit. What's good, Ash?
Well, yeah, I think we'll hear what Heather has to say. Maybe say a few comments on it, and then probably Q&A, I'd reckon, and then we'll wrap it up, I'd say.
Heather, have you got anything to add? Let us know. Heather, if not, I'm 100% like you're in for Saturday, mate. You're definitely in for Saturday.
I would love to hear some of the stories that you can tell us.
Yeah, I'd be fucking
more than love, because
I think I'll see if I can get my dad in for that as well, because he'll find that fascinating.
He'll lap it right
He'll
up.
love it.
Yeah, the more I talk about this, the more I want to hear about experiences like you've had from multiple people, because things like that, I think, because I haven't had it myself, is really interesting.
The thing is, it's one thing to hear like folklore and tales, and it's another thing to hear someone's bespoke personal experiences. You know what I mean?
Definitely, yeah.
So, you know, it's a bit like, fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, but it's interesting because it brings it down to a more personal level.
Yeah.
Watching it on TV, it's the same thing as I was talking to my sister about this recently. Actually, if you listen to a band or see a band on YouTube on a stage or something, you don't think much about it. You go and see them live, and suddenly you're just like, "Holy shit, these people are actually real." I think it's kind of the same with this. You see it on TV all the time of like some Mong just going into a castle with a little, probably fake detector of some sort. And you think, oh, that's a load of tat. You hear about an actual story that you can see some validity to, and you think, holy shit, okay, something might be going on here. Your intentions when you use a Ouija board can affect the outcome. If someone is scared to death, it can become scary easily. Right. That's a problem. I better have a few drinks before I do it then, or I'll probably shit myself.
We'll get you in Saturday, Heather. I'm excited for this, man. I'm really excited. Holy shit. So cool. But, like, I think for me, like, obviously there's only so many experiences that a lot of people have. But, like, ultimately, the thing is, it's hard to believe something on television when they're probably dramatizing it for views ultimately, because I know from my own fucking experience as a content creator, if I have the opportunity to dramatize something as much as I can to get more views from it and make more money, I'm gonna do that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And who's to say it's not the exact same with them, because they have financial gain from it. Like on the stories that I've told you before, Ben, in regards to like the photo and stuff, I have nothing to gain from fucking lying to you about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Plus, I can see the fucking picture.
Yeah.
I can make up my own fucking story if I need to.
You know what I mean? Which is the crazy part. So I think a personal experience from someone means, and potentially has a lot more
traction, I suppose.
Behind it,
yeah.
So most of
Heather,
complete bullshit. Some of the others are incredible. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Heather, we are more than happy to get you on.
She's got the
We are
beers and
both
bullshit role now. So.
exactly. We are both very interested to get you on. But other than that, if anyone's got any questions, I vote we wrap it up here.
I'm quite happy.
I think it's been a good little podcast.
It's been some very big tangents today.
Yeah, but it's not our podcast if we don't go on a tangent every 3 minutes.
That's very, very, very true. Very true.
Bring up one point. Oh, scared of bees. Have you ever heard of nettles? Go on that for half an hour. Job's good.
Go from. How did that conversation even start?
What, the bees?
Yeah.
That was people putting things in the chat, which came from me talking about submechanophobia, which came from fear of unknown, which came from the fear of, well, not necessarily fear, but the darkness of the woods, which came from your own personal experience, which came from the haunting of what the stories you wanted to talk about that we went completely off the rails on, you know.
It's all gone Pete Tong. It's all gone Pete Tong.
I think we should talk about Charlie having kids one day. That would be a good... Yeah, Charlie, let's talk about you having kids one day.
Right.
Let's talk about what it would take.
Folks,
let's talk about what it would take for you to have children.
Absolutely millions of pounds. Take a lot of money to have a kid.
Probably, yeah.
How am I going to join you? Heather, we'll sort that out, but we can do if you look, you now have access to that specific Discord channel, and there's a voice call that's locked to only to the people that have the Discord role as well. So we can do it in there, and we should all be able to turn our cameras on in there as well and go from there.
We'll sort it out, have a little test just to make sure.
Yeah. But I don't want kids.
No, Chart, that's a 3-hour story for when we're pissed, right?
Yeah, when that one comes up, Ben and I really are trash.
Yeah, when that one comes up, we're going to be pre-drinking from 6, right? We're going to be absolutely binned by the time the podcast starts. We won't even make it through. One of us will just pass out.
The first one, maybe that's why the first one did the best in views, because we were just fucking mortal.
We were fucking binned that. Yeah, that's a good plan. I'll start next time. Maybe not next time. We've got a guest on. I've got to act at least vaguely nicely.
Come on, Ben. Your co-hosting is with me.
Yeah, exactly. When it's just us two,
stuff like that. That's one of the things that I want to do for Sam. I want to get people in. I would love to do it like anonymously. I just have them tell us a story. But Heather's going to come on Saturday. I've got another streamer lined up, hopefully for next week. Bean, who I've been playing with, wants to come on. John Essie might come on as well soon. I've got a guy that runs the biggest COD group on Facebook would like to come on at some point. A few other people. I think it'd be really, really exciting. I think there's a lot that we've got planned for the next few weeks and stuff, which is going to be really cool. And Thing have said, the owner of Thing has said about coming on and doing some talking about what it's like to own a business in the or starting a business in the UK during lockdown and things like that, which would be a really interesting conversation to have. And there are a lot of topics lined up for this. It's just trying to sort out timeframes and stuff, because obviously I stream evenings, Ben has uni work. So we're trying to sort out like a lot of the logistical side of things as well as just trying to get this up and running in the first place. You know what I mean? So,
but we will get it sorted. We will have people on. We really want people on just to tell stories, even if it's just mindless bollocks. That's what we excel at. So if you can tell us mindless bollocks stories, convince us that we should have you on. That's what we want. Ben, how's uni during lockdown? Fucking shite, mate. It is absolute wank, but that is a story for another podcast. When I am binned, I could rant about that for easily 3 hours. We also did cover
some of that in the loneliness section of the podcast.
We did. Yeah, so we did.
If you're interested in Ben's perspective on loneliness and being at uni during lockdown, that is in the part 2 of the mental health section.
Yeah. Give that a watch. Speaking of which, anyone who's still in here and would like to watch something else, feel free to sling on the mental health podcast. It's definitely worth watching, because me even being in it, I would more than happily go back and watch it, because I think it was brilliant. I really enjoyed the chat that we all had.
It was very interesting.
I can sleep. Yeah,
I had to watch the entire thing back through again, All of it I had to watch back through again
Yeah.
to edit it and cut out any parts that didn't need to be there. And even I sat there and was like, I missed so much of this the first time round, you know what I mean? I was kind of listening more for in case someone said something, and I'm a bit like, fuck's sake, let me cut the video there so I can crop it out easily. But we didn't actually do that, but that's what I was more trying to listen for. But like listening back to it all again was very interesting. Do you know what I mean? It was like, fuck, I even like some of the stuff even I said, I was like, I don't even realise I'd said that, because like some things that you say in the moment you kind of forget that you said, and you're a bit like, oh
yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean?
Hassam, I appreciate that you can fall asleep to my voice. I'm debating doing some audiobooks soon. Might upload them to this channel, might upload them to my own, who knows? We'll go through some kids' books. I might read The Hungry Caterpillar. That's a personal favourite of mine. That's a good fucking book. You know, I think that will send
Biff and Chip. Ben reads Biff and Chip.
Biff and Chip. Fucking A cunt. Let's fucking go.
Fuck.
I will get fucking binned and just read Biff and Chip all night. Please do some ASMR. Yeah, all right, fine. I'll do some ASMR at some point. I'll take off the pop filter so you can really hear and really get a boner. Char, what was it like meeting? What was it like meeting a viewer? Alfie asks.
If I had met a normal viewer, I don't think it would have been that bad. But because I met Alfie and he's a fucking weirdo, it was quite strange. No, I think the weird part for me is Alfie is the only person that isn't like a personal friend or isn't a company reaching out to me.
You're going to upset me.
That knows my address because of stream. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And for me, that was incredibly strange because, quite frankly, it was like I haven't personally bumped into a viewer yet because ultimately, I haven't been that famous for that long. And when we was all allowed out at that point in time, I was very limited as to what I could do, sort of thing. So it wasn't like reality of man. Fuck's sake, Ben. So it wasn't like I could do a whole lot. And I'm really interested to see what happens since blowing up and since getting recognized in games, since getting stream sniped, since all of these different things happening to me and things like that, where people actually recognize who I am. If I went out into the real world now, to somewhere like London, where a big portion of the audience is from, would I get recognized? Yeah. And that seems really strange to me, and I'm intrigued to see if it happens. It doesn't bother me if it happens, or like.
Nah, but it'd be interesting.
But I'd be
it'd
really
be a nice
interested
ego
to
boost.
See. Yeah, well, it really would be. Do you know what I mean? It was like, you know, getting stream sniped is a really strange feeling that shouldn't feel nice, but to me at the moment feels really cool. It's like, not only am I playing in a wager, but while I'm playing in a wager, I've got two teams stream sniping me. Two different people stream sniping on different teams.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which I thought was crazy.
That's insanity. To think where you come from to now, you're getting people stream sniping you.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Yeah, no worries, Heather. I'm really excited, Heather. I really, really am.
Hutch, hello and goodbye, Hutch. We are wrapping up, but we much appreciate you being here.
Off of FB, what do you think of the story I sent you? About what? About Prime's ban? I don't think he got banned for that. I think there was something else. I don't know what. I think there's a different reason. Because I've posted a lot of hacker-based content on Facebook, and I've posted hacker-based content since that has happened and have had no problems. Now, the only difference between me and Prime is that I'm partnered and he isn't. But I'm still just as liable to break in terms and conditions as he is. So to fill you in, Ben, basically, Facebook has recently, because Facebook is the only platform that up until like literally 2 days ago, would allow actual people using hacks and cheats on the game to stream on the platform.
Yes, I saw this update that you sent either to Discord or Facebook or something,
and they only retweeted it, and it
they only recently updated that, which I think is ridiculous.
But to my knowledge, they're not actually banning people; they're just blocking them from monetizing.
Oh, great! That's useful.
Which is essentially, I don't know, because the way I read the policy updates, it wasn't "we'll be removing the page." It was a breach of monetization. And you can breach monetization and still stream technically. So,
right.
But so you've seen I've posted a lot of hacker-based content. I've posted the interviews with a hacker, getting stream sniped by a hacker, and there's another streamer called Primetime who called his stream Hack Zone or something like that. Because not because he was cheating, but because obviously the sheer amount of hackers, and because of that, supposedly he got banned. Now I don't think he'd get banned because, to my knowledge, it wasn't a perma ban; it was like a temporary ban. To my knowledge, the ban that comes with hacking isn't a ban; it's just a policy restriction on your page. So you can't monetize and make money directly through. You can still post a fucking link to your direct link, but you can't.
Give me 2 seconds. Sorry.
Okay.
2 seconds.
Okay. Ben's leaving me. Yeah, no worries, Heather. I'll keep all the updates in that chat, mate. So just keep an eye on that in that section, and we will keep it in there. Try and vlog it, Char. It'd be awesome. What's that? Meeting someone in public? Yeah, if I see someone, then I'll definitely get it up. Sounds like Dr. Disrespect. What does? But that's my thoughts on Primetime's ban. Is I don't think it was to do with that title, because there were also, I went out after you sent me that, Alf. I went out and checked, and I looked at the other pages that had been streaming hacks, and they were still streaming hacks and still monetized as Level Up. So, as far as I'm concerned, I have little faith as to that's why he was banned. Now, I have no reason to disbelieve him other than my knowledge and insight as a partner into the policy changes, etc. So I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. So I guess there's no way of knowing unless he either comes out and says he was lying or something. If I had to guess, I would say something else happened that caused it to caused his page to get blocked or his personal account to get blocked. I don't know if he's back streaming now though or not. I'm not too sure. Good.
Why is Hannah outing me in the chat? I
Is that
don't
where
like
you'd
it.
gone?
That is exactly where I've gone.
Why couldn't you just say I was going for a piss? I thought he was going to come back with fucking food or something. I got well excited.
No, but I have 2 things to add on the end of the stream. So when you're ready to end, let me know.
I'm ready to end.
Okay. I have one question, which I think of every time I go for a piss. Do you ever sit there, go for a really long piss, and wonder whether you could have just held the world record for longest piss?
Yeah, I've done some really big ones before.
Now you'll think of that every time you go for a long piss. You'll sit there and think, "Wow, this could have been a world record."
I've thought about it before. I've told them.
Good. Okay. And the last thing I want to say is a little inspirational quote that I thought of earlier while I was eating ice cream, and I thought, eating ice cream after going for a shit is a dangerous process, because if you see something on your hand, it's 50-50 whether you're going to strike gold or literal shit. And with that, I shall end the podcast.
I'm not even. We sign it off. Where do we go from there?
I am going to end the podcast. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. It has been a wonder having you here and listen to us ramble for the past 3 hours about absolute nonsense, from nettles to submarines under the ocean to just frankly scary shit happening in our houses. Thank you very much for listening. It's been a pleasure. And remember, boys, don't just suck it.
Suck it.
Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure, and good night to all of you.
Bye-bye.